James.
Yeah,
hi. That's it. We are live. Today is 16th of April 2018. And today on the panel so far is a nice, clean Astral who's just jumped out the bath. Hey, we've got an Englishman. I always say this, but he lives in Denmark. And then we've got Patricia from the UK. We've got Levkungfu and special guest Tommy Rodgers from Canada. Canada. And we've got James from New Zealand. So good evening, everybody.
good name.
Right.
Hello.
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 Hello. Very quickly, Tommy, you were Tommy was just explaining that before you came on, James, that whereas we've got the Mediterranean right now.
Really? Okay.
Oh, is he not speaking now? Tommy?
What's that again?
Yeah. Just explain, like, it's really cold, you said, where you are.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, last week, was probably about 2 weeks ago, we were kind of experiencing spring. And I was kind of glad with that because I kind of like didn't have to wear gloves all the time. And I kind of ditched the winter boots, and walking my dog was a little bit more pleasant. And then about 10 days ago, it just went cold right again. And then the last 5 days, we've been getting hammered with these ice storms and freezing rain. And the snow was piling up on my balcony, and it was like little ice pellets. And so it's just, and now it's sort of changing. It's still cold out, but I got my balcony door open, but I'm kind of used to that because I live with a big dog. So, but yeah, I know they play with the weather. Right, it's almost like I'm experiencing December now instead of spring. It's kind of weird, right? And I mean, you can't believe anything that's on your TV or your newspaper, and your neighbor doesn't know anything. So it's kind of like that's why I'm here.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah,
and thanks for being here.
More than that too, right? I like this aspect about the consciousness, right?
Yep.
And the wording of all our language and stuff. And I've got lots of books here that have lots of information, but I mean, if these guys have been playing with the wording from day one, then where am I? And it's weird. I mean, I know because the first thing they teach in school is how to spell. And so then I start looking at every word I say. Am I casting spells? To that kind of angle of things, right? And anyway, so then it affects everybody's consciousness, and it's not even on a conscious level because it usually affects everybody on a subconscious level. And then it's like you just start playing this mental ping pong game with yourself. And I want to stop that kind of stuff for myself and everybody else and start figuring out why we're really here. I didn't evolve from no monkey. And I think I'm a product of a pretty good GMO. And I was created by something that has an intelligence more than I do. And when I start looking at all the wording of everything and the history that I've been studying, and I study stuff that's kind of crazy, and I kind of do things that usually people don't want to do. And my research is just kind of out of the box, and I've kind of gone through a lot of crazy stuff because maybe I mentioned I was in a coma before, and I had many accidents where I've been hospitalized, and I've had out of body experiences, and I'm a drug addict, but I don't do drugs. And I could tell you about addictions because one of the biggest addictions that I had recently to deal with was sugar. And I went through withdrawal pain in my head for 4 days that I never experienced before. And it was kind of like, and it's because I was involved in recovery programs and got involved with drinking coffee because I didn't usually drink coffee most of my life. And, you go to Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, and the first thing you do is hit the coffee pot. And then you spend years drinking coffee and eating sugar. And then I quit that a couple of weeks ago. Well, again, because I quit a few times, but the headaches that you get when you quit doing that is probably the worst migraines you can experience. And so like not only can you be addicted to drugs, cocaine, heroin, any opiates, or they say marijuana is an addictive drug, but I find that is pretty mild. But even tobacco is nasty, but that's a sacred drug or a sacred plant, but they put chemicals in it to really make it not good for you. And I don't know, it's just food is an addiction too. And I know people that all say, look at all that drunk or that poor drug addict over there, yada, yada, yada. And they're going to go out and eat 5 pizzas. So it's a game we're playing here. And I'm not young. I'm 55 years old. And I just want to share the information that I've experienced in a positive way and try and help everybody out. I'm trying to be a good Christian. But I know I've got information that there's over 200 books of the Bible, and we only get 66, and it's run by Luciferians, so that's why you get your 66. And then, so being a good Christian, it doesn't mean that you got to go to church every Sunday or anything like this, or, if the Sunday's not even the day to worship. And to me, it's like just being a good person and trying to work on bettering yourself as a human being. And not just physically, but in a conscious way, in a more in a conscious way than physically, and try and work on being a better person for everybody. It's weird because I live in a building where I'm a nice, happy person. My dog is a really good dog, and my neighbor won't even hold the door for me when I'm coming in. And it's a pretty high class building and stuff. It's not cheap a place, and I clean my hall all the time because my dog, he's a big dog, and we're always in the woods. So he's always coming in with, mud on his paws and stuff. So I'm always mopping the hall. And then when I do that, I clean the elevator because, I'm just about, overdoing things sometimes. But then I got to deal with a neighbor who lives right across the hall from me and sees me coming in the door. And she runs away. And I got to fish around in my pocket and get my keys out. And I got to take the dog's collar off. And it's just, I look around and they got everybody in these apartments, and we're all apart. We're all apart. We're apart mentally, And this girl, she's a young girl. She's pretty. She's nice. I get along with everybody in my building, but we're people. And it was wasn't like it was late. It was like 8 o'clock at night or something, and so it was like. But like I said, they got you living in these apartments and you are apart mentally. And with all the Wi-Fi and everything going on and everybody doing this, and like I live with a city, there must be 7.5 million people here in this city on a good day. And I'd say 90% of them are cell phone cyborgs, right? And I got to deal with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I yield the floor.
We love you.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Sidewalk, I like it.
Oh. How many people spoke then? I couldn't work and said what then. Who spoke? Astral, what did you say?
Me.
James.
Yeah, I could say something.
Go on then, James.
There's something I've noticed in my own experience that will become that will be like the great revelation to Tommy this feeling like, right, you've got these people there. They seem to be kind of fearful of you, and you might get the impression that, well, they might get the impression you're a threat to them somehow, and you may have had this feeling with people too, that you feel that proximity to these people is this serious risk, of some kind, some thing. Actually, what I've deduced is that it's consciousness, right? It is consciousness. What I feel, your consciousness is reaching out to people, okay? And that is what they think is a threat. Your consciousness reaching out to them right there means it feels like they're under attack. It feels like their consciousness is under attack, right? And so what it is they want to, like, you want to engage with the young person there, like you were saying, but how that feels at the consciousness level is you want to appropriate some of your consciousness, right? Now, in this world, at the moment, there is this conventional wisdom that there is a siege mentality when it comes to consciousness, right? Because we think it doesn't exist, okay? We think it doesn't exist, and that's why everyone's very protectionist. Everyone is very politically protectionist, and it's because they don't realize consciousness exists. And so that feeling that she may be experiencing is a feeling of what your consciousness feels like someone wants to steal some of your consciousness. So the situation is not one-dimensional. Its situation is multi-dimensional, because in the first instance, her consciousness feels like you're going to want to appropriate some of her consciousness. And so you've got to start talking to her. So then that takes it all out of the equation. Now, I have my understanding of this because I've just been on this great crusade, and I've proved consciousness is real. So a lot of what you're experiencing, right, is actually the reaction of your consciousness to your environment. And it's like these other people in there, like you're saying, they're cyborgs and all that.
No, they are.
Well, what they do is they think anxiety is virtuous. Yeah, they think anxiety is virtuous, right? And that creates the political sphere. And that's why I went to Wellington. I went to Wellington, and it was really amazing. And so while the human race does not acknowledge consciousness exists, this is the cause of all the problems, because we try and do things in a way, we want to express consciousness without knowing what it is, and that's why it's turning into like a pile of crap, man. There's some serious problems going on, and it's just because people don't know that consciousness exists. It's like a powerful car without a steering wheel, right? You're trying to drive this car without a steering wheel, and you just keep crashing into things. And that's what the whole human race has been doing the whole time. And we've got this organized way we live according to that. And here we are with the world, with its concerns, with its things that it thinks is important. And so I thought I'd just say that about how consciousness reacts against other consciousnesses. And yeah. So I should say about my trip, the real great example of my trip was the Ministry of Education. Now, you all may not know, some of you may not know, be aware of what I'm doing, but if you go to the Facebook page, James Mason, I've just put up there a big report, but I put pictures of the pamphlet I handed out to everyone, and but the Ministry of Education was the typical thing. Well, I've got to tell you about this young Maori, right? The Maori are different people that live in New Zealand, and that's another story. But he saw it, and I told him a bit about it, and he said he was going to go and show his mum So I was hugely flattered that he would do that. But the Ministry of Education lady, she's Ministry of Education now in New Zealand, right? According to Tommy, you're saying that people are cyborgs. Well, because of this aspect of human nature that exists here, as it does everywhere, they've been attacking the education system because the cyborgs are in control of the social policy, and they're making it, they're recreating it in a way that's pleasing to them, but they believe that anxiety is virtuous, right? And so it's turning out like that. And so the teachers have been told on national media, so the whole country knows, right, that they're inadequate, they're not teaching the kids properly, they need to improve teaching. They, at the same time, over this period of about 10 years, they have been attacked by having them like huge increases in the level of paperwork they have to do, and also the pay system that pays them has made multiple mistakes, and this is all planned. Okay, this is all planned, and so I rock up to the Education Ministry and I talk to this lady, right, and while under those circumstances, they try and put their best foot forward and improve their game and make strategies so they get better outcomes. I've said that, well, actually, it's nothing to do with the teachers. The teachers are the most high-quality people we have, and it's actually a problem with the recipients. The kids are not valuing education. It's awful hard to teach someone that doesn't want to learn, and so all these kids, I mean, most of the kids are great and they do well, but the media, being the media, focus on these few, and it makes it look like these few are all of the school kids, right? And so they, if I just do a little segue, they've propagated this thing called child poverty, which is another total big lie. And she was probably quite happy that I'd done that because it put back the reputation. What this is it puts back the reputation of the teacher, and it identifies the actual problem. Because if people are believing anxiety is virtuous, they will not value education, and that's what most kids, that's this hand of cards most kids get. They get this opportunity that anxiety is really important, and then they get these reasons, these big validations that anxiety is virtuous, and so then they go down that path, and then they don't kind of want to learn. They don't think they need to learn, and this prevents them from valuing education, right? And so I was really pleased with that. This long-standing advocate of education who'd been maligned and actually victimized by the media, right? This now puts it right that she has put, her character is restored and the actual problem is identified, because it's that deception, they've used it, this anxiety, the political correctness of anxiety has caused the situation where the teacher's at fault and the kids aren't, the kids are the victims of the poor teachers, and it's actually the other way around, right? And that is a profound, it's a profound moment, I think, in that, and so that's on my Facebook page and the pamphlet. So it was a really great trip, man, really great trip, and yeah. So consciousness, you want to know about consciousness, Tommy? Well, I've proved it's true, man. And I've said this. The fact is, I said this to the Ministry of Education lady. So I just rocked up there unannounced, and I got this little meeting for 10 minutes with this lady, right? So what I've done is I've proved consciousness is true, but more significantly, it is something for the first time in history that is a tangible thing to talk about. A tangible thing to talk about in this discussion of anxiety and of consciousness, right? Because I discovered that anxiety is a political entity. and that it's comprised of 8 laws, and it has multiple overlapping anti-tampering measures. And this all starts from this freak accident, which is the culture shock. It's the event of birth that culture shocks anxiety into existence, right? And then what does the baby think when the baby does not have language? And that's the big thing about the person, right? Because only when we start to speak does anxiety turn into a political entity, because it governs language, it governs thought, it governs perception of reality, man. And so if you can perceive anxiety as a political entity, you can actually figuratively hold it in your hand and look at it, right? And then, so what are you looking at it with if you do that? And that's how I prove consciousness is real. And it includes a tangible thing in the discussion. And I can see that as I'm talking about this, I know that it confronts the longest standing belief of the human species directly, and it is a great big U-turn I'm going to ask you to do with understanding of things. And yeah. I yield.
That's great. Echo. Astral.
Hello, good evening, good morning, wherever you may find yourselves. How's things?
Oh, it's good.
Good. I've been a bit, I don't know, I've been seeing some things today on the internet that I shouldn't probably be looking at. You know, all this to do with Clinton and what have you. I mean, it's, you can't avoid not seeing it anyway. You will see it. You'll see something anyway. They're not going to show you like this, the full revelation of it all and that, you know, but I mean, it's just insinuating or, you know, hinting towards what it might be. And it's, yeah, it's fucking sick, man. It's bad. And more people that know about it.
Oh, I know about it.
You know about it, Tommy, yeah? You're in on that.
Irma Aberdeen or whatever?
Sorry?
Hillary Clinton and Irma Aberdeen or whatever?
Yeah.
Cutting the face off the fucking little girl?
Cutting the faces off, yeah, and wearing it to scare them even more while they were still alive, man. What the fuck, yeah?
They're adrenochrome addicts.
Yeah, craziness.
Well, that's Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, but there's a.
I've got to say something, man. This could be a giant scam to keep you focused on them and not yourselves. Yeah, because that's what it is. It is the replication of the function of anxiety that is politically credible. That's why you're gravitating to that kind of stuff. And people publishing this on the internet may not have anything to do with Clinton, but they want to keep you focused off yourselves. You know, if they keep you focused off yourself, then your focus is also off your relationships. You know what I'm saying? And so I've got this. It's a realistic thing to talk about, that to control you, they've got to stop you thinking of yourself in your relationships with those around you. And,
yeah, but this is what we're talking about. It was a laptop where they found fucking a film, man. And it was the police that have found it. And grown men have been apparently throwing up, crying, and they just can't stand it, you know? This is what we're talking about. One. Yeah.
So they've gone public with Patricia's laptop. Or one of them.
You have to understand what witchcraft is all about.
Yeah, I'm aware of what it's about. Yeah, but I haven't been following that situation. I haven't been following it. So you can tell me about that if you want, because I haven't been following it really.
Well, you want to know about witchcraft? You want to know about Hillary Clinton?
Well, not about
I
witchcraft.
think
But
it's.
Go
on then, Astral.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, I'd rather not hear about
human blood
Cleaston, really.
sacrifice and Moloch and all them crazy Jewish blood sacrifices and stuff, right?
yeah.
I mean,
Hey,
there's over 1 million children go missing between the UK, Canada, and the United States every year.
1 million.
Yes, they actually charged Queen Elizabeth a lizard Beth, which is House of the Lizard, right? They charge her and the whole crew. I posted it on my own Facebook page, and I've been following that for years. They got 60,000 children in Canada that they actually were convicted on in court. This is by the Belgium are issued the arrest warrant for all these people that are involved in 60,000 Canadian children going missing since before 1964. And these people are still walking the streets because every courthouse in town has an allegiance to the bar, and the bar has an obligation to the Queen. So how are they going to arrest her?
Dude, it's all going to change soon.
Well,
We're going to change because I'm involved now, and I'm speaking on behalf of
1964, the Queen and her husband, Prince Philip, took 10 children from an orphanage in British Columbia, Canada, which was run by the Catholic Church. It was an orphanage. They took 10 children for a walk in the woods and didn't come back with the children. And then that was swept under the rug. But they were actually charged for that incident. And there was a big court case that went on in British Columbia, and a whole bunch of people got paid off, and nobody ever hears about it. It's not even on my local news. It's not in the newspaper. It's not in anything because everything's a controlled game.
that's a replication of anxiety, how they have to control the media, because
Exactly.
the media is representative of the collective consciousness, so they must control the media. But I promise you, what I did in my capital city Monday is going to fix this, man. It's going to fix this, because the whole premise of witchcraft and what they do, the only reason it seems like it has power is because anxiety has hijacked consciousness. Okay, that's the key to all their power. If they are refused access to consciousness, they don't have any power. And so when the people become aware of the discovery, the revelation of the 8 laws, then they have to change their behavior. The people at the top who are disassociated from the community, they have to change their way of life, because their way of life is completely reliant on the beliefs of the silent majority. And so I'm about to change the beliefs of the silent majority significantly, and it is a coup over anxiety. Okay, so we're now throughout the world, anxiety has political credibility, and from the micro to the macro, it is the replication of the function of anxiety as events in the mind that is politically credible. That's why when someone's freaking out and everyone stops and looks, right? So if consciousness becomes politically credible, then that all stops. The whole lot of it stops. The whole way of life stops and gets into a more balanced with nature kind of at a minimum, at a bare minimum, a more balanced with nature. So all these people and these elite groups, these secret societies, right, they will be seen as outside of the community, because at the moment they're kind of seen as, with their camouflage and with their little theatrical social mores they like to do, they are seen as the aristocracy, right? And this replicates anxiety's political status in the mind. So soon they will be seen of as outsiders to society, right? And I'll say one thing, that all of the Caucasian people on earth need to be one people. Okay, and I'm talking about all of the white people in the world need to associate as a singular culture, which is Caucasian culture, and that is a big plan I've got. I'm going to do that. But yeah, these people, the Queen.
Can I interrupt you, James? Sorry.
Yeah, you go.
Why only the Caucasian?
No, because that's what's missing. They're going on about all these other cultures.
Can't see that, actually. I don't think that was a good statement there.
Nah,
sounded a bit wrong.
It has to happen. It has to happen because in the political
James,
Yep.
Just say something without sounding like rude. Astral has what do I want to say? He has a white family member and a
You can say
black.
I'm a bit mixed. I'm a little bit mixed.
Yeah, he's a mix. So how does that work for someone like you?
It's not about that. It's not about.
Yeah, but am I part of the group or not?
Yes.
But you said Caucasians need to stand together.
Well, look, this is the thing, right? We've got Russia, America, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, England, Ireland, South African. We're all separated because of the political boundaries. Okay, and what I'm saying. Here's a good analogy, right? Have you ever gone into a job where you've got to answer to someone, you've got your boss, right? And you're all, you know about the job, but your boss has got no confidence, right? And it completely ruins how you can go about the job if you have to follow that person. Well, this is what it's like because the Caucasian people, while they're all, the establishment so fixated on race, if we get all of the people and make a political acknowledgement that we are all Caucasians, you know what? We love everyone. I think that there's Caucasian people and our values, and then there is the people that agree with that. And you know what? Every culture in the world agrees with education. It agrees with an organised society. It agrees with fire departments, police departments. You know what? It's not about isolating one group. It's about qualifying our group as Caucasians, and that enables us to relax. But this is really about. See, I don't care about problems. I want solutions, man. I want solutions, and I believe that's part of the solution. And but I tell you, the Queen of England, right? She has overseen all of these troubles in England that's happened for the last 10 years or more. She was there when the Second World War started, right? Well, she wasn't really, but her establishment group was, right? A massive grievance about the Second World War, man. That it's never talked about the 10 years preceding World War II that I've researched, right? And I'm very... And so as she is the crown, the head of state of New Zealand, right, where I am, right, she's completely absentee. She's completely absentee. And it seems she has no role to play in our Treaty of Waitangi because with how the belief systems work, the term crown, actually everyone believes that that's our government. And it's not our government. And also they believe that the term the state, that means the government too. And it's a lie. It's actually the people of the country. So there's these very, very long-standing theatres that are lies that we are basing on how our society operates, right? I think the key thing, though, of qualifying just of all the Caucasian people, it is to mitigate the banking system and putting that under house arrest. Okay, so if the perception of the people changes, that enables that to happen. That facilitates that. You see what I mean? And I don't know what blood I've got in me because both my parents were really depressed and they never talked to me, and my whole family was like that, right? And this is one of the reasons I'm really out for revenge over anxiety, because this is the outcome it caused in my family. And so I don't even know what family of mine, what they did in the Second World War. I don't know anything about hardly any of them. And it's because people haven't been talking, right? And only people that value anxiety as virtuous have an aversion to communicate. And so to change everything, right? To change everything to a better state, we need to do some housework, And but I don't know what blood I've got in me, but I don't care. It doesn't matter, because you know what? From my perspective, we all possess consciousness. That means this is the most beautiful thing, man, And so that's why most Caucasian people are not racist at all. We like to get involved with different stuff. And it's like when I went to university, I had the time of my life, and it was all because of all these different nationalities. It was amazing. Yep.
James, can I say something? I think I understand what you're saying about what this whole thing about race is, but all that has caused so many problems and caused us to hate each other. Right? And if you listen to other people talking, everybody's sick and tired of the race thing, and we're all one. We've all got the same DNA. Yeah. Maybe this is what this is about. It's not worrying. You can all see what colour we are.
I think we are getting away from all that racism and stuff. We are becoming one as an entire human race. I heard today on something I was looking at. There are 62 classifications of gender now. It's not just boy and girl, man and woman. 62. I mean, what are they? I'd like to know, man. 62. There are 62 recognized classes of gender nowadays. Where does that come from?
Jewish loyalists. Because if you look at my look, I've got to say it, man. The Jewish values in Judeo-Christian religion, right? This has really corrupted the means to think. Okay, and so how to mess with people's heads. Okay, it's the A game of anxiety, and my video Theory of Relativity 2.0 on YouTube, right, is the most anti-Semitic statement in history, right? Period, right? Because it denounces anxiety as virtuous, as But Karen, you're right. You know what? You look at little kids at school. You know what? Everyone's interested to see the different person, and I believe that consciousness likes mixing it up. Consciousness is awfully excited about.
In a sense, we kind of want the history, because maybe like the pyramid people, or thank goodness for the Micmac tribe, that have known their flat forever and got these documents and their way they are. Everything is about being flat and their culture and stuff like that. Thank goodness. But maybe now, we're not even white people, are we? I mean, we're not white, are we? We're kind of pink.
Caucasian.
We're not white, we're pink. What is it? It doesn't matter the colour thing. The colour thing seems to have got us into so much trouble. I mean, look how our parents felt about things. Look what they instilled into us, and now we've got to realise that all they ever really wanted was to turn us all against each other, and they're still doing it through this horrible ego people have, arrogance and money. Yeah, money's not the sin, but the people are. It's just the way. We've got to try. We're all different people, but try. At least people are starting to talk about this, not worrying about what colour it is. We're all one people. We've all got the same DNA. I mean, it's not our fault the colour we were born, is it? It's not our fault we were born where we were. That's it.
Well, look, consciousness makes. See, I believe this. I believe that consciousness grew us. Okay, as an expression of consciousness. And the meaning of life is to express consciousness. And the fact is, at the consciousness level, we are all equally the same thing, right? And but you can see there that they want to retain political control, and it is the super duper sci-fi thing that this being that is consciousness finds itself in the physical realm, and then the perception changes, and anxiety has been the leading deity of the earth, actually. And so, yeah, so my assertion there that we should actually acknowledge the Caucasian people as a single political, as a single ethnicity, okay, it needs to be made, because then we can actually put the house in order. Because, as you say, Karen, Caucasian people, we love other people all the time. My first 3 girlfriends were not Caucasians, man, you know. And so, but look, I've got to fill you in on just exactly what's going on in New Zealand, right? I've just found out that there's all this suppressed knowledge about prehistory of New Zealand. Like, there's no acknowledgement of any people being here before the Maori turned up at about 1000 AD, right? When actually there's evidence that there were people living here 7,000 years ago, right? So I want to know about that. I want to know about that, these ancient people. And we're here at the bottom of the earth, so they traveled here. There was all stuff going on here, right? And
we don't know what's true anymore.
Yeah, well,
James,
I know
they've worked so.
And you're more around to the edges, you mean?
Yeah, look,
You said the bottom then, you mean out to the edges?
Well, out to the edge, right? Out to the edge. But the thing is, there is a political system. Yeah.
Thing we don't even know. I mean, like, I was looking at myself yesterday. About 1830, they knew they could make electricity. 1830, 68, 70, 80, all the electricity in the 1860s.
Yeah.
It's like, how come we didn't really move? We just don't know everything. Everything's lies.
Well, I think this. I think if the Catholic Inquisitions never happened, we'd have had computers like 500 years ago. How about that?
Yeah, we were far more.
Computers 500 years ago.
If they didn't stop Caucasians being themselves, which they did by genociding whole regions of fucking Europe, right? We would have had computers hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And that's my big point at the moment, is there's a political establishment that has a very detailed, multifaceted threat matrix that is applying to society to, 1, conceal history, to 2, to make us believe that we don't have a history. And that's what I'm seeking to attend to, is to remove political credibility from these establishment pillars of society, actually, right? And it's a very serious thing. And I promise you that if we acknowledge the Caucasian people, then everyone else will be much happier with that, because everyone else knows we're good people. Everyone else knows we're good people. And
it's okay. I think every race, like these people are those people. Everybody, it's happened to everybody, James. Everybody's been turned against.
Yeah, and that's that thing. That is my great point about this revelation of the 8 laws. It's a tangible thing to discuss, to qualify the problem in its various forms. And because at the moment, right, here's the deal at the moment, well, everyone believes that anxiety is virtuous, thanks religion, it evaporates the concept of wisdom. But because they think anxiety is wisdom, it also evaporates the concept of anxiety. And that is actually a fact, an observation this is conventional wisdom. And so what I'm about...
Those that are waking up and understand this race thing, and understand what's happened.
Yeah.
They understand. And those are the people that are starting to change their consciousness about what they think and feel, like we are.
Well, I could say something about the Chinese, right? Because they are pretty productive and they are pretty good at planning, and they don't believe in any of this nonsense, political, how the West has been destroyed, culturally destroyed. They don't believe in anything. and they're quietly just obtaining everything in the West because they are humble and they work hard. And you know what I think this? I think really deep down, the value that Caucasians inherently value education. This is the same thing at our core that Chinese have at their core. And I believe that if we make consciousness the political credibility, that completely evaporates the race issue. It totally evaporates the race issue because every race values education. I see these attempts in Africa of people trying to organise their societies along the lines of the Western world.
James, we do a little poll on that. We'll do a little poll on that with the people that are in the chat room. Yeah. What would everybody like? Everybody's races separate, well, not separated out, but like James says, or would everybody like it's one race, we're one people? You know, with what we know.
How about this? Let's have a nationality.
Just as a poll on that one, because I do like a lot of what you say and everything makes utter sense. But there's just a few things, you know, like I'm just like, it's the fact that we've put everybody into races is actually been used in religion for thousands of years or however long it is, and that's what's been used against everybody. Well, I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
we need to just come together.
Yep.
While I'm waiting for the poll to come, if people answer, Tommy, what have you got anything you'd like to say to James with what he's saying?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what he's saying, but I think it goes a lot farther back than what we even realized. I look at it. We're on a farm, and each region's got, you know, its rulers. Like then we call these guys prime ministers and presidents, and they kind of just go and get together and they do these get-togethers at their global summit meetings, and they have these backroom meetings, I'm sure, and they have to get together with the people that rule them, and they get told. This is what you got to do to your herd, and this is what you have to do to your herd, and your herd's looking a little fat and ugly, so you got to trim that down. We're going to turn up the chemtrails on your country today. And I think it's kind of run like that, and they own the media, and they own the school books, and they own our money, and they got us all running around fighting with each other, thinking that, you know, the white guy's got this car and I should have that, and the black guy's got that big house and he's a prick, and everybody fighting when everybody's doing the same shit anyway. And it's part of the smoke and mirrors that they want everybody all dizzy, because while you're sitting there looking at this stupid bullshit and we're fighting over flat earth and who's flatter than the other one, when the real agenda could be the 5G prison that's going up around us, and we're all sitting here talking about, you know, this stupidness, and the distraction that it can get into with the consciousness, which you're getting to, is incredible. I mean, with a newspaper and the right headline, you can start a war.
This is true.
So, I mean, this is where you got to start looking at the inner self. I'm not a religious guy whatsoever. Last time I was in church, I think it was either a funeral or a wedding, and I can't even remember when that was. So, I mean, that's how religious I am. But I mean, I'm just trying to be a good person and learn about my environment and trying to teach others. But the consciousness aspect, what I was getting at probably earlier, was about they got us apart mentally, because I live in a city of 7.5 million people, and it's a mixed city. So they call us a multicultural city. So my apartment building's got Mexicans in it. It's got people from Pakistan. My neighbor down the hall is from Egypt. I have two lesbian girls that are living together downstairs on the 4th floor. There's two homosexual guys upstairs on the 6th floor. And like I said, it's like a mixed pool here. And then when I go out in society, there's just people walking down the street. They got their earphones in, so you can't even say good day to them. If you say good day to them, they tell you to fuck off because they think you were telling them something nasty. And so you don't even want to say hello. And then you get on a streetcar or a subway and you go downtown, and everybody's either got a cell phone in their hand or they got the earphones in, or, you know, because they're all tuned out. And they got laptops on their laps, and that's if you get a seat. And it's like I've posted some of those cartoons on my little Facebook, Toronto Tommy's Truth Academy, where you see all the mice piling on the subway streetcars, whatever. It's like that here. And I see the wheel, and everybody going to school, and they're being taught the same, living on a ball, chewing, you know, on the same bubble gum, and they're all spewing out the same verbal diarrhea, and they're all going down to the Sky Dome to watch the game, and you know, they're all worried about getting a handful of beers on Friday afternoon and making sure they got a good ticket to the show. And me, I'm totally against the grain, because I go out in society and I see it, because I've been studying numerology, witchcraft, all kinds of really asinine off the subject, because everybody, what are you looking at that stupid shit for? Well, I learned back in the day, if you want to get kind of real with this game here, you better know your enemy. And that's why I don't drink city water. I understand that Chairman Mao killed about 60 million people with the drinking water, and he got a Nobel Peace Prize somewhere in the mix of that. And so no, I don't drink this. I try. I got a total dissolved solid here, so I check my water and stuff, right? I got that. And I know the brain itself is 88% water, if not more, for all I know, because I live in a water world. And with the consciousness of everybody, I try and wake people up and try and spread like a message of love, but I mean, not the kind of love that wants to, jump on your back, but I mean, just like, just be nice to everybody and try and help each other out, and don't be so worried about money, because money, I heard like the other day, the US dollar is going $1 trillion in debt every month. And I scratch my head going, what the fuck? Because my dollar is based on the US dollar, and like we get about 75 cents to their dollar. So it's like, I'm already fucking getting all squeezed out as it is. And now it's like consciousness, you got two brains. You got your brain in between your eyes, and then you got your brain that lives in your stomach. And I keep them both very calm, cool, and collective, because if either of them goes out of balance, then you're not doing well. And I just try and do good things. And if you want to talk about the Jesuits or the Roman Catholic Church or the kids going missing every year, or how are you going to stop this? I mean, I look in the Bible, and don't get me, I'm not a Bible thumper. I think it's a really, I'm trying to learn about all this kind of stuff, because I mean, I was raised a Roman Catholic, and my life was good until my mother died when I was 10 years old. They murdered her with chemotherapy. She was only 40, and left my dad with 3 hockey players. And then my dad died of cancer too. And that was I'll get into that another time, but holy shit. But I was raised a Roman Catholic, and my mother was a good woman, and she made sure she went to church. We went to church every Sunday. And if not, we had to go Friday afternoon and confess the sins I never even did, just so I could drop my nickel in the poor box and say my Our Fathers and get the fuck out of there. I was all about playing in the woods and stuff. I was a good life. But I mean, with the consciousness aspect of things, the Roman Catholic Church changed my whole life around. And because they're responsible for pretty much both sides of every war. They got every prime minister and president in their back pocket. If you understand the movements and the military organization of the Jesuit order, the Tavistock industry, the whole relationship with England, the Queen, the movie we live in, as far as the television goes, which I haven't owned a television in over 6 years. So, I mean, I'm pretty cool with that. But I got like 300 or 400 books around here or something. I don't know. But I mean, I've looked at the whole game that they've been playing everybody for a long time. And I've had a really crazy life to go through all of this stuff. And I was raised a Catholic. So I guess morally, I try and stick with the concept of Jesus Christ in my head, because it was kind of drilled in me as a youth, because I'm talking about the consciousness as a youth, because that was the first thing I seen. My dad's from the Irish side. My mother was Scottish. So, I mean, my grandmother was Scottish, and she was pretty strict. You know what I'm saying? She was a Gilmore, and I'm a Rodgers. And it was just the way I was raised, and then I go out in society today, and then I try and manage people, because like I had about 25 years fighting addictions and stuff from some pretty bad accidents, and I broke both my thighs, my shin, and my pelvis in one accident, and that really screwed me up. Couldn't walk for about 3 years, so I didn't want to talk about consciousness. I had some out-of-body experiences with that issue, and I wasn't even on drugs. Like I was probably just coming off of it, because when I was getting a lot of these out-of-body experiences, it was right around when I first got out of the hospital for weekend passes and stuff. And but the consciousness aspect of things, I almost made myself, like I was laying on a couch and I couldn't move other than get on the floor and crawl around backwards, dragging my feet behind me, right? And then I'd be laying on the couch, and I was kind of like going, my life was kind of destroyed, because I was 19 years old when I got in the accident, and I was like, rock and roll. I had a lot of shit going on in my life, and I had lots of girlfriends, and I had friends that had, like, wasn't raised like a poor little bastard or nothing, but I wasn't raised, like, I was kind of like middle class, but a lot of my friends were upper middle class, and then even then some. So it was like,
can I say something, Tommy? Sorry, because I got through this a little bit, but talking about is he obviously knows who he is as a person, know who you are. And with the way our parents have shown, in a sense, we have to reclaim ourselves. Claiming ourselves, you start to know who you are as a person. What happens, you can start really taking on board what James is saying. You've got to be pretty awake to understand what James is saying.
Yeah,
People are indoctrinated the other way, and it is to let go everything in one go. It does take time. Here, Earth is still the same planet. Yeah, but they don't mean that. People always pick up on it.
Yeah, I could say something. I would like to say something.
I just feel so, Tommy.
Can I just say another thing that I was just going to finish up on here, right? The thing is, with me is with my life, I was, like I said, I'm not a religious kind of guy, and I was just I was having these out-of-body experiences, and I realized that because I actually kind of was forcing myself at one point, because once it happened to me, I realized I could do it on my own. And I was out of my body, and I was looking at myself laying on the couch. Okay, just as I'm like here or whatever, talking to you, kind of, that old saying. But why I'm learning about the consciousness aspect of things is because for a long time, I've had to kind of be a sponsor for people who are trying to come off alcohol and drug addictions and issues like this. And in order for you to counsel anybody on their life with this kind of information, you want to know as much about human consciousness as you possibly can, because you don't want to fuck anybody's life up when they're sitting on the edge of a drug overdose. You know what I'm saying? So consciousness is kind of important to me. And that's why I look at it, and I look at everything that everybody else is afraid to look at. And when you speak about your conscience, I've watched your videos several times, James. I think I left a couple of comments. Every time I watch them, I'm always liking them and stuff. I've mentioned to Karen several times, like, James is on the right pattern here. He's got the thing figured out. He's talking the right talk, right, about how people got to get themselves out of that fucking box mentality and start looking at who they are as themselves. And I'll yield the floor to you, James. Thank you.
Well, cool. Yeah, no, that's right. It's see, you can't. What the thing is that conventional wisdom is giving us these problems. That is the thing, and the real reality is that the problem exists according to the character of consciousness. But here's what has happened, and this is the super sci-fi thing about reality, man, that we got this process going on, which is consciousness, right? But we instinctively conceptualize according to how we can express consciousness, okay, which is language, okay, and thought. And the fact is that anxiety has complete domination over the philosophy to language and thought. And because all those bad aspects of society you described, these are people that believe that anxiety is virtuous. And they live according to what is pleasing to anxiety. And this is outside conventional wisdom. This is totally outside conventional wisdom. Because I'll say something about religion, right? Religion. Because of how it is the freak accident of the event of birth that culture shocks anxiety into existence. So this problem I speak of, which is now, which is right fucking now, this pre-exists language. Okay, so that's how far back I'm talking about that this has been going on. And all that travels and all those things, and you know what, the Catholic Church, before they worship God, they worship the salmon, which is why the Pope wears that funny hat. It's a salmon, right? And so they've gone along, really, they've gone along there like complete morons, and they're just dribbling nonsense by going from a salmon to like something like God. What happened is they figured out a way to appropriate the culture of the Celtic peoples, right? So here's what I say about religion. Religion has been exclusively derived from the senior elements of the political correctness of anxiety, because courage acknowledges anxiety. Consciousness acknowledges anxiety. So this is a means to have influence over consciousness. And so the only goal religion has ever had is to replicate the function of anxiety as it events in the mind, because of how the silent majority who believe in courage, we hold on to the belief that consciousness is the real true thing. That's why we are creative. That's why we love being creative. And so this one aspect that people believe that anxiety is virtuous, right? We all grow up, we all get this hand of cards, we all grow up, and there are multiple, you know, we encounter anxiety as a political entity, and it has multiple overlapping anti-tamper measures, right? And one of those is perceiving reality that we are a physical being, and we can be hurt, and we can get cold, and we get hungry, you know, and so there's a lot of votes of confidence to anxiety being virtuous if you're unaware of consciousness, okay? And so if you go to talk to a person that has addiction problems and they seriously want to know how to get out of this trap, right? And the person there that's trying to achieve that thinks that anxiety is virtuous, well, they will instinctively stay away from the cause of the problem. And I'm thinking there that if people can be enlightened that consciousness is real, then this is a major step to solving the addiction problem, because it's the condition of consciousness that leads people to go to drugs. You know, because that's why they want to do it. They want to get off the crazy train and have some quality time of consciousness. And drugs is what happens with that. See, the drugs are the drugs, but it's not the drugs that do the thing. It's the body's reaction to the drugs that do the thing. And so that's a school of thinking that I've got about this. And but you see how this has been going on so long that nobody realizes it, because it's not a case. My analogy is, it's not a case of there's an elephant in the living room. It's that we are all living inside the elephant. And so if you can perceive anxiety as a political entity, as I've disclosed, you can figuratively hold it in your hand and look at it and examine it. And if you do that, you are looking at it from consciousness. You're looking at it with consciousness. And so this is really the only thing that needs to happen is for everybody to start believing consciousness is real. And that we all, it's like, you know, it's like me. I had girlfriends there that weren't Caucasians, right? Because consciousness is compelled to do something different, because that's this creative spirit. And so, you know, people, you know, here's the media analogy, right? It's like they promote anxiety as virtuous by going on about problems all the time, like religion. When all the problems have their genesis in an anxiety, okay? So that's this pattern of circular logic going on, and I'm out to stop that. And so this is the thing of it. This is the thing of it. I know. See, looking at it through the perspective created by the conventional wisdom, okay, which is facilitated by the language we use, it seems that all the problems are really serious, and it's like, oh my God, and it's like, but what we need to do is look to a way of functioning that is not problematic, okay, and so that's my purpose, man, is to create an awareness of ourselves. I mean, how it extrapolates is that actually, I think, see, we all have the same basic view of reality, right? That people believe that religion is credible, which is why it's a pillar of society, of the world. And while we think that is true, we're going to have all these problems because the political optics of religion is that anxiety is virtuous. Okay, so this impacts on, you know, this has the effect where consciousness doesn't exist. Okay, but it's the whole situation is playing out according to the character of consciousness, but that it's been appropriated by anxieties, right? And so, as I say, this is well outside conventional wisdom, and it's a completely alien thought to the world that consciousness is real, and it's a completely alien thought that people that are advocates of consciousness are going to take over the establishment of the world. You know, my point about the Caucasian people, if we acknowledge all of the Caucasian people at once, how could Russia and America have a conflict if they're the same people? Because that's what the point of it is. They divide us up through political boundaries, which is a political thing, which is what the Queen of England loves. And I'm seeking to change that, because we need an exit strategy from this way of things. And we have to have an exit strategy. We have to, because the world is at stake. The world is at stake, man. And so on
James.
Yeah.
Just see what if Levkungfu or Patricia are there. Would they like to add anything right now? Patricia?
Not a minute. Sorry.
Hey,
You're listening, are you, Lev?
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
Okay, is Patricia there? Patricia? Oh. Astral, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm about to make a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Would you like to add anything now?
It's a bit it's a bit deep, this, you know. I mean, it's
where we need to go, man.
yeah, exactly. But you know, you can talk, James. You can talk. You definitely can. But I mean, it's like I don't know. It's just I think it's too deep, you know, in that sense. Consciousness, yeah, be conscious, be aware. That's where I'm at, you know. And yeah, I am aware. I am conscious. I'm awake, you know, in that sense. But I don't know. It's like you're going deeper than. Yeah, write a book and I'll read it probably.
Well, you know, next thing I'm doing, I'm putting this into a book. The book's called The Observed Morality of Civilization. And, you know, many people say that it's too deep, it's too deep. But actually, this is the only thing people have ever known, what I'm speaking of, because I'm channeling consciousness. And I have this relationship that I've had since I was practically before I could talk. I believe that consciousness came to me because it knew that I was just going to be a worst case scenario, big time, considering what my parents were like. And so it stepped in, man, you know, and gave me these dreams, right, the series of dreams, right, when I was like 5 years old. And so I've had this relationship a very, very long time. And so if you would quietly consider that what I'm saying is the end result of that relationship, and it is the conclusion of all of my research and the wisdom I've got from that relationship. And this is what I think is a good idea to do. And yeah, and so that's that. Yeah. So people say that quite a lot. It's too deep, you know, but actually it's all they've ever known. And I just want to fix people, man. I just want to make it better. And see if people like Tommy, if young people get to hear the revelation of the 8 laws when they're like small kids, it would completely shield them from the influence of anxiety. It would completely shield them from the influence of anxiety. And it would completely shield their minds from the influence anxiety has over what you can say. You know what I mean? And this will only...
Can everybody hear me?
It will only empower relationships. I yield.
The thing is, though, that
Sorry, Karen.
You're taught a lot of this when you're a child. You're sort of indoctrinated. I mean, if you treat a child one way, you're fat, you're useless, you're ugly, that child's going to grow up not realizing they've got an authentic self. And if you're nice to that child and praise that child and teach it that sometimes your parent's wrong, sometimes the child's right, and that you're mixing so they understand what real healthy, you know, argue things. That's healthy argument. It's just that everybody's got in these ruts of these unhealthy programming, multi-generational now, and it's just got worse lately. It's a lot to undo.
Well, it is. Yeah.
You know what? Do you know why people go for counselling? Because they don't trust themselves.
Because there's money to be made.
They don't trust what they're saying in their heads. They don't trust those feelings. They don't trust the voices anymore, and that's why people go for counselling.
I mean, how significant is to doubt oneself? This is actually a hideous thing for consciousness, and that's the thing of it. That's what you're saying, Karen. It's when consciousness loses its confidence, and then there's no hope. There's no way. There's no means to lift that person up if they've lost. If consciousness has lost its strength, and that's totally a valid point. And I'd say though, my first thought of what you're saying is the kid there that gets these ideas at a very early age, they would perceive they don't have a relationship with the person that said that, because that person would be anti them. They said something to bring the person down, and so the perception would be they don't have relationship with that person. Because I think it's really significant that talking about consciousness, right? It is what the baby thinks when the baby does not possess language. So this is the area of political optics. And so that's what the baby would think if the parents were ignoring the baby. There's no relationship present, right? And with the big put down from someone, again, the political optics is I have no relationship with this person. And that breaks consciousness's heart, because consciousness loves getting together with other consciousnesses. And so the business there of political optics is the language of consciousness. That is what we have.
Actually, I agree with you. But it's the winning, because now Tommy's just said that's how he feels when he walks through his city where he lives. It's the opposite.
There's no relationship going on. There's no togetherness going on. You should move to New Zealand, Tommy, because we aren't like that over here. And at 7 million people in your city, that's like 3.5 million more than New Zealand's got, man, in the whole country. So you got plenty of people that are more relaxed, and they engage with each other. I would come here, man. I would move here. If you want more emotional warmth, there's more here. I think there's more here than anywhere, actually, in New Zealand. Because that broke. I noticed that when I was a kid. My parents didn't talk, and then us kids followed that, and there was no evidence of relationship in our home at all. And so this is the big thing. To that which matters most, which is consciousness, that is the thing of value, and it is denied that, and so they can't figure out depression and anxiety and all that. Well, they won't unless they acknowledge the character of consciousness and the things that are of value to consciousness, because they're ignorant of them. And while they believe that anxiety is virtuous, they stay well away from any discussion about that. And so hence my joy at the reaction of the lady at the Ministry of Education. Holy moly, man. All I can see is a world that can be changed if the people were enlightened to the problem. And I think the Vatican should be turned into a fountain.
Exactly.
I'm going to do it, man. See, I'm going to do all these things I want to do. I'm going to do them. Specifically acknowledging the whole.
Hey, James.
Yeah.
James.
Yeah.
It's really great talking about it, but you know what? It's a bit like, what happens if we did wake up tomorrow? The world's flat. It ain't actually magically going to change everything overnight. It'll probably cause chaos. Well, but like, we're trying to move together as a people.
Yes. That's the thing. That's my whole point. That is the thing, that to bring awareness that there is the similar aspect to all of us. Okay? The similar aspect to all of us. And there is a reason, a mathematically provable reason why we become dysfunctional, why we start having animosity, what causes doubt. Okay? All of that gets put in order with a qualification, and that's the game plan, man. That's the game on. It's like, and I know from my
the law, so that basically over here you can't help anybody anymore. It's almost against the law to help anybody. You can't feed a homeless person anymore. It's against the law. I mean, what the hell's that?
That's according to the aspirations of the political correctness of anxiety, is what that is. And that's the fact of it. Anxiety is a political entity. There is the political correctness of anxiety, and that's how this massive group, this massive group that we think of as the Illuminati, they're not actually connected at all. They are functioning under the understanding of the political correctness of anxiety, and that's how the Bible could prophesize future. Okay, it's the optimum outcome of the political correctness of anxiety, of a world that believes anxiety is virtuous, right? It's easy to target the future when you know the math of the political correctness of anxiety. And that's how they all work together, like that, right? They instinctively intuit what is a okay thing to say and what is not okay to say. And that's why I'm really excited, because this is a absolutely mathematically sound qualification.
Do you know what I reckon? Something isn't working, because you know, we've already had, was it 2 nuclear bomb threats this year on Japan and Hawaii? I mean, come on, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just say, Tommy, you might know a bit more about that than what Karen does anyway. But Karen, I found out some information about that, threat, you know, incoming missile alert, blah, blah, blah. Did you see anything about that, Tommy? It was supposed to be something on the Q post about it could have been a big data dump, and that was why it was necessary, because it was the same day. There was a big data dump that the false alarm that there was a missile incoming to Hawaii.
Yeah,
do you know anything? Yeah,
and the
sorry.
Clintons were in Hawaii too. You know, the Clintons were in Hawaii as well at the same time as that attack.
Very weird, that, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's just part of the movie, right? I mean,
there's a lot going on.
I don't believe nuclear weapons can be put into a warhead and then fired across an ocean and blow up a city. I think that's a part of the fucking bullshit. Part of my French. That's part of the flat bunk going on, right? I mean, otherwise they would have already done it. You know this? I mean, since 1945 was the last attack at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and it just happened to be the 2-minute episode that they did propagate everybody with was filmed by a Jesuit priest. And he says, "Oh yeah, we seen the implosion of and we seen the big flash." Well, the nuclear test that they were doing at Johnson Island for years. A year after they were doing these tests on Johnson Island, they were eating breakfast on the beach. So I don't believe in the nuclear thing. I do think there is nuclear power, but I don't think it can be done, put into a warhead and fired across the sea and blow up a city. I think you can actually plant a bomb. You know, that might work. White phosphorus looks like you blow up 500 tons of TNT and mix it up with white phosphorus, you got yourself one big explosion and it'll mushroom cloud, right? So it's the same thing. I don't believe in nukes. And this is all part of the whole smoke and mirrors. They got everybody hypnotized. It's a really crazy thing if you study any kind of forms of history, and especially when it gets biblical and stuff, because I research the Bible stuff because all the people that are running the game are involved with the Bible, because you've got the war machine, which is the Washington, D.C. clique. Then you got the financial aspect, the gang up there, that's in the UK, that's the city of London. And then you got the spiritual aspect, which messes with everybody's heads. And that's the Vatican. And when James says he wants to turn that into a fountain, I can understand what he's talking about. I mean, the problem is when they got these witches, these warlocks that are living inside the Vatican that are basically driving the bus from there, because these guys control everything from there. I mean, even the Pope was having his slipper toe kissed by Mussolini and Hitler in World War II. I don't believe Adolf Hitler died in no bunker in 1945. And I got information he was actually planning an attack on the Panama Canal in 1970. So, I mean, how's that happen? But that's another story. Right? In regards to the nukes thing, I don't buy it. I think it's just part. Did anybody get hurt? I mean, other than maybe somebody that they, come up with as an actor to do. I mean, the same with the Syria situation that's going on there. That's all part of the movie. I mean, it's been planned. These guys, I think it was back in 2008 or 2010 or something, there was a general that was saying, "Oh no, I just got the plans. We got to take over 7 countries, and all these countries don't have central banks." And bing, bing, bing. I think we're down to less than 5 anyway that don't have central banks. I think there's Iran, Syria, and then
Russia.
Well, Russia's got a central bank though. That's why you got to watch what's going on, because you got to understand that Russia is the United States.
Now, Russia has its own bank. It's not part of the central banking system.
Well, sorry to interrupt. I thought Sorry, I thought North Korea was one of them.
Well,
Without
that
central
was.
bank.
CIA outpost. You know that?
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, but I'm just thinking about the countries that have a central bank. Iran,
This
Syria.
is where it gets kind of weird because the Jesuits have been kind of running everything from the Vatican for a very long time, and they've lost power and taken it back over time, and they've lost power and taken it back over time. But you got to watch these guys because these guys are out to kill, and they'll do anything to meet their final agenda. It doesn't matter. They got that oath, right? And they'll kill anybody, and it doesn't matter how many. They just got to meet the final agenda, which is kind of a sick way of thinking about things, right? But the conscious about everything is, it gets into witchcraft and stuff because in the Bible it says that, God commanded everybody.
Astral.
I'm a noisy. Sorry. I should have muted then. I didn't think.
God commanded everybody to go over and kill all the Canaanites, right? And kill their dogs, their sheep, their goats, and you name it. Make sure you exterminate the Canaanite race, right? Period. End of story. So this is where it gets in the Bible. Well, how come we got a good God and a bad God? Like, what's going on here? Well, come this one here in the Old Testament is such a nasty prick, and the guy in the New Testament is such a nice fluffy guy? It's a whole different game. The thing is, the Canaanites, our language comes from the Phoenician Canaanite system. And now I understand why the Bible says you want to get rid of these Canaanite guys, because these guys work on witchcraft basis. You talk about the Druids. James mentioned the Druids and stuff. I got all kinds of books here on witchcraft. Then you start talking about what alcohol can do to people. And then there's not only our physical entities that are here as physical beings. I believe there are extra dimensional entities that are here that actually influence people. I've gone out drinking with people, and I've gone out with girls that were like as nice as a nun. As soon as you get into a tavern with them, you have a couple of drinks with them, and next thing you know, where did that evil bitch come from? Or I could say something else, but it's a family channel, so you know what I'm saying? Anyway, but I mean, and then the next day people wake up and say, I don't know what the hell got into me last night, but holy shit, wow, how did I end up here? This gets into this entities stuff, which you understand about entities or anything like that. It's kind of weird stuff and witchcraft. I could talk about that, but it's huge. And then the consciousness aspect, it's a battle because you got to watch what you're saying to people. They live in fear because they got everybody living in fear. And I'll yield for now.
I'm not, man. Witches. I'm sorry, man, but everything that's known about witches has been created. It's been created by the church to demonize Caucasian people and our spirituality and how we channel consciousness because we value education and we love creativity. We love helping people, and that creates civilization. That's the Western world as we've got. And the thing is that who are the pagan people? Who are the pagan people? Oh, that's anyone that the anxiety doesn't like. Anxiety's behavior is to choose an enemy and then demonize them and talk anyone else into believing that they're the enemy. And so that's the pagan thing. It's a political character assassination of a whole bloody ethnicity, my ethnicity. And then they went forth to do based on this thing that these people are all evil, let's go and murder them for 500 years. Okay, everything that's known about witchcraft is actually invented by the church to prop up their political theatre. That anxiety is virtuous. Okay, all of it, right? They used to kill people just because they'd worked out how to create medicines from plants. They used to torture people to death because they had a toothache. Okay, so all this wisdom that you're talking about that has its origin in the religion, right, is gone, man. You know what? The British went to Scotland and they thought, oh, these people are barbarians, man. They're like uncivilized barbarians. Nah, they had reached a perfect harmony with nature, and they didn't want any more development because they respected nature. first rule of being a druid back in the ancient times was that nature is the most respectable thing there is. The most respectable thing there is. And we were, you know, the actual perception of the person was that we are extremely appreciative to have this experience with nature that allows us to be alive, right? And so the whole perception of the ancient world has been, it is a lot of nonsense, man. I tell you what, it's a lot of nonsense, because that's how interested anxiety is in controlling thought, okay? And so they had to have control of the media. I mean, here we go. Here's a great example. How come no one understands that actually the Jewish people started World War II? By announcing on the 24th of March 1933 in the Daily Express newspaper in England, the whole Jewish nation goes to war against German people. Okay, no, see this. If it's not got the element of a lie, it's not politically credible. It doesn't think that it's true, right? So then you get the aspect where inside the jurisdiction of the 8 laws, you have the fact, which is a fact according to the lie, and outside the jurisdiction of the 8 laws, you have the fact, which is the true fact, which is actually a fact according to the truth. And so religion and everything it is saying is a lie. It's a massive lie. And the only goal religion has is to propagate the idea that anxiety is virtuous and to replicate the function of anxiety as it events in the mind. Now, sorry to get energetic about that explanation, but I'm a bit passionate about the political understanding of the silent majority that validates the aristocracy we have, okay, which is the cause of all the problems you're going to talk about. The theatre they propagate against the world, which they have always done. And, you know, Islam is the same. What they did in India, they went on a massive killing spree for decades, and under the same understanding, following exactly the behaviours of anxiety, exclusively following the political aspirations of anxiety. Oh, these people are bad. We have these names for people, infidel, like the Jews have goyim, okay? They invent these names to make people look bad, and fantasy, you know. There's never been any peoples in the world called pagan, okay? That is a political character assassination. And the witchcraft thing, this is a product of religion, just like Satan, just like demons. It is all a product of religion, and it is all about the political correctness of anxiety being virtuous. Now, I'm sorry, but I'm on my high horse, man. I just went to Wellington to announce a political party to let people know this major thing wrong with society, which is the belief that anxiety is virtuous, which causes all your social problems. Belief that anxiety is virtuous, it causes an aversion to communicate. Okay, and that's what you try to function with this aversion to communication. Then you get your outcomes where people don't want to be involved with that. Young people start going out, wandering the streets and things, and doing drugs and all whatnot. And so this is time to change everything. Now, I have what I have to say, and it's because I channel consciousness. Consciousness only wants an answer. You know, we know the problems there. We can only forgive the past to have a future. We can only forgive the past. That's why the revelation of the 8 laws is an amnesty. And I mean, the way this has worked out, this amnesty, the 8 laws, this is so perfect how it fits every facet of the human experience, and it is a perfect amnesty because none of the people that are causing the problems, which everybody talks about, they all got tricked into thinking anxiety is virtuous. And that's the thing. That's why it has to be.
We don't talk about much today, James.
Huh? What's that?
One thing we haven't really talked about today, consciousness is love as well. It's love on the conscious level. There is.
Right. So
love.
To kill off the political credibility of anxiety, right, then we can, that gives love political credibility. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm loving that idea, man. I'll tell you what. How to stop focusing on differences, start focusing on similarities. So yeah. But this is the change what it involves. We've got to start thinking outside of conventional wisdom, and that means we can't continue focusing on problems. We've got to start designing how we want to be, how we want to live, and that's why I think this qualification I've got is so important. We can build an understanding with a qualification and something tangible to attach our intellect to, and we can go forward with that. And I yield. Yeah.
Thanks, James. Astral, did you want to say something?
It was ages ago. I forgot what I was going to say now. Sorry. No, I was actually more interested in hearing what Tommy was going to say about this, this conspiracy thing, Hitler and what have you. And yeah, I'm more into that rather than anxiety, because I think anxiety, it's a necessity anyway within our lives. You have to have this balance. We spoke about it before, didn't we? Or I did.
We acknowledge it, you mean?
Yeah.
We acknowledge it. Yeah, but that's the replication of anxiety gets us led by the nose, man, and that's the thing of it. And I want to promote the idea we have to be objective, because we understand everything, man. There's no surprises with anything. We can objectively compartmentalize this issue of anxiety. If people knew automatically they could have someone to talk to, it would change the ball game totally. But as you're describing, in a lot of the world, there is no one to talk to.
Well, we're talking now, and there are more people that feel like us. So it is changing slowly, but it is changing. Because a lot of people, I think what it is when you hear Tommy talk and stuff like that, it is still like a shock to realize that just everything is a lie. Everything. It leaves you in a slight bit of shock. It just does. And you understand, and the consciousness and coming together, all these things, it's still a bit of a shock because there isn't really anywhere to go yet except things like our hangouts.
Yes, yeah. This is a fabulous blessing, Karen, and it's down to you that this is a great experience of courage, and you've made it happen. Yeah.
Oh, James.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
that's very sweet of you. It's we the people, isn't it? It's we the people.
Yeah, that's right. Because we are consciousness, and so that's what I'm saying. To make consciousness tangible and give it the political credibility, that's the game plan. Because all of these.
Yeah, I think what it is thing. If people because Astral says it's very deep. Tommy just said, I don't know, when I'm talking, am I making spells? And you have to remember with James, he's very articulate.
Passionate. Because consciousness, how much animosity has consciousness carried because of anxiety? Really, in the history of the world. This is like unbelievable, man. I tell you what. And so I'm going to boldly pronounce the view of consciousness. And because, as I say, forever, the human race has conceptualized consciousness according to how we may express consciousness, which is language. But that's totally ruled by anxieties, actually, at a conceptual level. And so I'm into creating new
But
language.
the thing is, that, James, some of these things are really happening. It's not just fear. They really are happening.
Which is true. That's right. That's right. And so we must be part of the outcome. We must contribute to the outcome. And this is what the group is, Karen. This is a massive contribution to an outcome. What say there was 2 million people listening in, you know, because as a rally point, it's only gonna get more and more attention, you know, more and more people will hear about it. And so yeah, let's keep doing that, man. To know there is an option, there is a way of thinking about things that is separate from the conventional wisdom, which is that anxiety is virtuous, and that's that's a marvelous thing. That's definitely necessary. I mean, what if, you know, the thing is to break into the political sphere to be able to speak to youth. Okay, that's something that's really important, and so I think.
Hey, James.
Yeah.
James, Marilyn in the chat room says, ask James, I'm coming to New Zealand one day. Do they have piano bars for singers?
Yes. Because
There you go, Marilyn.
I'm in Christchurch, right? And this definitely would be a high value thing to see for people. I mean, Christchurch is it's got a very, very strong artistic community in it, culture of music, of people, and so that would be a valued thing here in Christchurch for sure. But I think there'd be many opportunities. Absolutely.
So has James answered any of your sort of feelings for you?
Oh yeah, well, I don't really have any feelings. Like, I just, I'm really interested in the consciousness aspect of it because I've had to like really, I've been unconscious for a very long time, and but I mean, I was in a coma too for a while there, and then I wasn't supposed to remember what I was going through when I was in a coma, and I was in a coma for quite a while actually, and so I was just. And then even when I came out of the coma, I was kind of like slipping back and forth, sort of semi-consciously in the coma. And then I'd have moments where I was like, even when I came out of a coma, like they acknowledged that I could, count my fingers and toes per se. But I mean, even when I came out of it, I wasn't totally out of it. And so, I mean, your levels of consciousness get really kind of like, when you're kind of fighting for your life and your mind, and it's like you can't even move any limit, and you can't really even all you can do is just talk, and for the longest time, like you weren't even awake, and then when they take all the life the life support out of your throat and all the stuff out of your, like, they start unplugging you more or less, right? You start coming around. But I mean, like I said, the different states of consciousness is kind of a crazy thing. And like, I'm not no angel when it comes to my lifestyle. I haven't had a drink in, like, alcohol in probably 10 years or more now, right? But I mean, because I'm a health person, but I smoke marijuana, right? And I use that more or less as a painkiller because I don't take any pills whatsoever, because I know that'll affect my consciousness, because I know binding agents of all these medications that they have out there is not healthy for you, and it actually attacks the mind. And I don't drink the city water. I drink distilled water because I try and keep myself off the stuff. But I'm with you 110% on the consciousness aspect of things. I look at things, today I'm looking at consciousness and, you know, the wording of a lot of the languages and stuff, because I like speaking languages, because English is not the only language. I can also speak a little bit of Russian, some German. I know some Spanish because my sister-in-law, she's Spanish. She's from Mexico. I got two nephews. They're like they're half Mexicans because my brother's just the same as me. We're kind of Scottish Irish. So I mean, but still. So the consciousness, I'm getting a good answer on, and I like talking about the wording of everything and the history of it. That's I like. I'm a Cancer, so I kind of I believe Cancers kind of overdo things a little bit sometimes, and I take things kind of emotionally a little bit. But I mean, I'm a family person as well, so I'm trying to learn as much as I can because I've got grandchildren as well, and I also have a 14-year-old son, so I'm in a mix of I'm a consciousness I can relate with because I got to deal with so many levels of it because I got so many different levels of consciousness on my life and my plate right now. So, I mean, when I'm dealing with consciousness, I want to have people who are relatively healthy in the consciousness level. And when I'm dealing with society, they're not exactly that conscious. So, but I'm trying to awaken as many people as I can and be as positive and productive with life and be an example. I don't want to, you can't force anybody, you know, you can't force a horse to drink water per se, but I mean, if I can lead by example, then I try and do that. And I don't know, I try to follow leaders, not losers per se, you know. I mean, so it's weird, but I'm with you on the consciousness, James, and I appreciate your work and your videos, and you're putting together a book. That'll be a fascinating read, I'm sure. And I am going to pass it over to you for now and see what you have more coming. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. One thing that triggered in my mind when you were talking there is that this business of consciousness, right? A goal I have is to produce language that supports speaking of the process of what consciousness actually is wanting to express, because spoken language isn't doing it, right? It has got this issue where it's been created and its development governed by the belief that anxiety is virtuous, right? In that political sphere. And I think it would be something to say that if we do things, it's about, we say things, we talk, right? We do, but if we do things in a way where the political optics of what we're doing is what is being communicated, that's the language of consciousness. It's the political optics of what we're doing. And I'm using words to describe an interface that consciousness that is fit for purpose for consciousness. And so doing things in a way that is the political optics are something that is positive, and it is something consciousness, it's in the realms of the language consciousness actually uses. And so that's generally what you're saying, Tommy. Your life has been configured according to promoting those optics to other people, because you are giving a vote of confidence in consciousness. And this is the beginning, this is the beginning of a real renaissance period. And so, because you say there's a lot of people around you, and I'll say this, that my whole revelation has come about because social media has allowed the true colors of the human race to show very boldly. And so yeah, that's what came to mind, to have the political optics of one's actions be the communication, the intended communication. And this group as well, the political optics of this group is that we're a rally point outpost for consciousness, and we are staying, man. We're here and we support this. And so the political optics of that is, for someone with these unarticulated questions, they will gravitate over here because we're the only thing in the landscape that's actually communicating in a way that is specifically about consciousness, actually. And we're all fumbling our way through it. And but that's the intent, because we can't speak with the language of consciousness. And so we use these means that we have using language to try and create this political optic that consciousness lives here, and we're proud of consciousness, and we want to see more people get better acquainted with consciousness. And yeah, so it's wonderful. You know, these young people I've talked to about consciousness.
Can't make people though, can you?
Well,
you know
the thing
what I mean,
is,
like waking up.
You know, you see, you can't make people. You can't. You know what is going on is that
Not
anxiety.
really. You know, what we're talking about here is like soul love, soul consciousness. You can make people do things, but that doesn't mean you get their souls. This is a soul thing.
I think it's like the Ministry of Education thing, where the Ministry of Education thought they had it all wrong. Actually, what's going on is the belief that anxiety is virtuous, stopping the relationship to consciousness. Okay, so when you say, oh, you can't make them do this, actually, the consciousness in them does want to engage with this, like seriously, because that's the only purpose consciousness has, is to engage. And this is love. It wants to have that experience where two consciousnesses have bonded, right? And so what you're really saying, you can't make them do it. I don't think that's actually what's going on. It's the fact is there's something in the person that is preventing them valuing the new experience. And on our side, their consciousness does want that, very much so, but it's how it's been overwritten and subjugated in that person, which is preventing them from engaging. And this is causing the aversion to communicate. This is causing that person not valuing education, and there's various other nuances in that. But as like I say, with the Ministry of Education, that's the big revelation to her. It's never been the teacher's fault. It's the value in the person to learn is at fault, and they'd never thought of that. Well, she'd never thought of that, and so to awaken consciousness in others, to do that, they've got to see a safe space for consciousness to operate, and that's what the big game is, man. Because all the people in all the world, just like all the problems that have ever existed, all have that one common thing, which is language. That has started the problem and is maintaining the problem. It's the language and the philosophy to language, and the political landscape of the language. This is causing a maintenance of the problem existing and giving it strength actually as well. And so to have something that mitigates all that, to show right over there inside that person, their consciousness, to show them there's a safe space, and we value what they want to say. We acknowledge that there's been a huge lack of, they just haven't been able to debrief for years, but for perhaps their whole lives. Their true feelings have been kept quiet. And so to be able to provide a means to facilitate that they can come and actually do all that, that's a win. That's a win. And so this is the problem. This is the landscape of where the problem is and what the problem is. It's not the good people at fault not being able to engage with bad people, not being able to figure out what's wrong with them, when actually there's this overt political force in their minds preventing them from valuing education and totally subjugating consciousness. And this is why I say everyone in the world is born into an organized criminal mafia where little people that go from being babies to someone who starts talking, they immediately have to take on the role of Stockholm syndrome to coexist with these other human beings, because they work in that aggressive political understanding. Every kid has to take on the Stockholm syndrome to be able to engage with them, right? That's an observation of what's been going on, right? And so if little kids were put, if young people were put in the picture of this actual political economy that's going on, where consciousness is totally subjugated, completely overwritten, because religion calls it the soul, right? And so to put right this situation, we've got to be kind of bluntly objective about who it is we are. And that's why I say the qualification of the 8 laws is also a qualification that anxiety, that consciousness is real. And so to go forth to be able to make this understanding young people's first experience, this is going to clear up all sorts of problems. Now, I just believe that, I just totally believe that. And it's like I was saying to Rev that time, gay people have been maligned and, in the older world, maligned and abused, and all sorts of bad things happen to gay people all this time. And it's because gay people are exuberantly happy, and the conventional wisdom of society is that anxiety is virtuous. Well, it's anxiety that hates happy. Anxiety hates happy. And so that's so see the thing.
What did you say, Tommy? Tommy said something.
I'm worried.
Oh, okay. He's obviously just agreeing with you. Carry on then.
So this is the understanding. See, I speak in terms of consciousness. I channel consciousness, and someone called me the prophet of consciousness, which I quite like. Now, the dynamices of consciousness are limitless. Okay? They are, boom, man, connected to the universe, you know what I mean? And so every single thing I would say about anything is going to have a long answer.
Sorry, James.
Yep.
What did you say then? The dynamices?
The dynamices.
What's that for a word? You mean dynamics?
Well,
is that a word?
But it's
dynamices.
It's in a different tense. The dynamics are, you could say dynamics where it's a static kind of a perspective you've got of something. But when you talk about dynamices, it puts the emphasis on how they network together and they interact with each other. You know what I mean? And it's a more fluid thing. And so it's like what I say, inside the jurisdiction of the 8 laws, where the world believes that anxiety is virtuous, you have static cognition, because the combination of the 8 laws only has a certain amount of combinations. It's a finite concept, okay? And so I could argue that that's why religion thought up God, because a finite concept can have a singular endpoint answer. But we that roll with consciousness, it being connected to the universe, it being having limitless dynamices, there is no answer. There's no answer. There's no endpoint, right? There is the journey is the destination. Okay, so it's the experience. It's the experience we're having, And this is really quite, I know this is quite deep conceptual thing, but the difference between anxiety and consciousness is having static cognition and having fluid cognition. Okay, and that's why anxiety hates consciousness. It's because to consciousness, and anxiety thinks consciousness is out of control. It can't be controlled, and that is indeed perfectly good. It's anxiety that desires control. It conceptualizes control because consciousness doesn't need control. Consciousness doesn't need to control anything. It wants the expression. It wants the expression. It wants to be expressed. It wants other people to express their consciousness, and it gets a lot of joy from seeing someone else expressing their consciousness. So the lady that wants to play piano in the bar, more please. And this is why we love art. This is why we make music. This is why we love telling stories. It is seeing consciousness expressed. And it's just the wonderful thing. And that's why I say, I think the meaning of life is to express consciousness. And I like that point, though, that like religion being a stylistic representation of anxiety is a static understanding. It's a static cognition. And that means it can have a singular end answer because the combinations of the 8 laws has the optimum outcome because of the political correctness of anxiety. It has the optimum outcome, which is a singular point or end point, right? An end game, right? It's an end game. But consciousness has fluid cognition and there's limitless dynamicity, so there's no answer. So at a conceptual level, the static cognition creates the end point. There's a finite point, and the consciousness side is fluid, and that's why we're only optimistic. That's why we dream of science fiction and angels and fairies and all sorts of beautiful things. And so this is why religion has always said, oh, Jesus is going to return, and this is why they've got this end point, this stylistic representation of an end point that is actually it's never going to come. It's because that's the state of anxiety. It has this imaginary, end of the world thing going on, man. You know what? And religion is only like a stylistic representation of that. And it's all down to the super sci-fi reality that we are, all of us are we're the supreme being because we can best express, we're the perfect vehicles of consciousness. And so we are the supreme being because in consciousness realm, there is no being, or I'll put it another way, there is only being. There's no actual physical form, right? And so, there's the two. This is really the only two sides of the political sphere in all of history. Is there is anxiety and consciousness. Is Antifa anti-fascist, or does anxiety think courage is the fascist? And that's the thing. And so, with this tipping point of understanding, you can see really most of the world's history has been generated from the relationship to anxiety, between anxiety and courage, being taken to the macro level. And the expression is that anxiety keeps winning because courage acknowledges anxiety. So it's the replication of the function of anxiety that has achieved dominance over world history. And so this is an observation. This is an observation. So I'm not challenging anyone about it, any big feature, any like Illuminati, secret society, whatever you want. I'm just putting out there that this is an observation. And in all of those groups of people that are evildoers, effectively, their consciousness will hear this. And as soon as they become aware of the 8 laws, they will figuratively be able to start looking at it, holding it in their hand and looking at it from consciousness. And so this is the most marvelous thing. And any of them that would dare seek to defend their political establishment, their secret societies, they'll go, oh, what's this thing there that's got to unseat us from the aristocracy over society? What? How dare he? What's he on about? And as soon as they look at it, booyah, game over, because it will separate anxiety from consciousness. Okay, that's the thing. And then they will start thinking of this political idea separately, which then they will activate their consciousness, right? And so that's why this is the perfect amnesty, man. It's like, and I've just said that to you guys, and I don't know, you might take a minute to think about it. I discovered this on May 17th, 2016, and I didn't sleep for 2 weeks after I realised that, and I've been my life's been overwritten by this. So yeah, I yield.
Yes, we know you're very passionate about it.
Yeah.
I still think, though, James, you've got to be awake to a certain part to understand what you're going on about, and it's just hoping that more people wake up.
I mean, here's the thing. I've said something about consciousness and others seeing that there's a like-minded entity over here, and it's a safe area to actually to just relax, right? There's that aspect. But there's the other aspect is in these consciousness of all people, they have, as I'm sure it's a uniform for all people, for every person. They grow up 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and they start forming these questions about their environment, right? Now, they're questions of consciousness. They are consciousness questioning practices going on that is not according to consciousness values. And what I've discovered is a means to not only answer those questions, to not only articulate those questions, but bring answers for them as well. And so that's an aspect of the reality of the revelation of the Eight Lord. And so I think that there's I'm very confident that this can change the world. This can change the world.
Well, that's what is going to the consciousness changing is going to change the world.
Yes.
I don't think, and it may never have happened before. We always think that the Atlanteans or the pyramid people might have done it, but it may be what's to happen now. It's now happening.
A critical mass of frustration and interest. Because the internet, this is amazing, this thing, YouTube, to learn about history, anything. And so it's a safe spot for consciousness as YouTube, for sure. And I'm thinking it's really the eighth wonder of the world that you think back in history when the King of England had 12 books, right? The King of China, he had just finished this 2,500 volume encyclopedia. Okay, so now we have YouTube. Now, what may we achieve if we had courage while standing on these giants of the past that have brought us here? And so I seek to like do something in kind of that, you know. I'm fucking having a good time, I'm telling you.
Well, because you're able to express all this.
Yes, it is. That is the fact of it. You know, all my life, all growing up, I knew that it would be only in middle age I would start actually being assertive, right? And all this time I was listening, and I knew now while not being able to articulate that I was a very strong advocate for consciousness, right? Because I was unknowing of consciousness, because of these concepts that create the format of reality. You know, what is the format of reality but the political sphere? You know, what is the political sphere but the emotional sphere? So this is actually an indication of the actual character of consciousness, how it actually is reality. The character of consciousness is reality, and how these things have overwritten it, that we would think consciousness doesn't exist, we'd be completely ignorant of consciousness. This is an indication of the actual situation we're in, and why I say this is super duper sci-fi. This is mind-bogglingly amazing sci-fi. And so, and then in my 20s and that, I played music in that. I was a singer in 2 bands, and my 3rd band was a death metal band, which was quite amazing. I played the bass, and it was like playing the bass in that. It was like skydiving and riding a dirt bike at the same time. Amazing. And then I went through all these different social circles. Like methamphetamine started up, and then all these gang colours disappeared. Everyone got colourblind, and I just actually laughed about that. That was quite funny. And but yeah, I went through all these social circles, and I secretly premised that actually it was about being that advocate of consciousness in these social circles where there was none. You know what I mean? Because it's that political optics thing, eh? To give the political optics of someone that actually some evidence of it, and it was all on this journey to get to this point where this collective understanding, and you know the means to be able to be objective, and that I had this relaxed aspect that enabled me to think about things, and get to this point. Not only be able to think about things, but to have this focus that was given me by the universe, right, by these events when I was very small. And so here I am, and all I can say is that this is the most momentous, amazing thing in the history of the world, because while religion has actually sought to control people and used conflict to do that, because all these countries thinking that they're big and tough, you know, they go out and attack other people. Like, why is Yemen being attacked when it's one of the poorest countries in the world? It's very, very strange that. So I think the next phase has to be, you know, the universe is deciding that the next phase has to be that the world has to be consciousness based, and as an exit strategy for those people in the aristocracies, right, the establishment. You know, this is a perfect exit strategy because their equation cannot work anymore. It cannot work anymore. There's one
They
thing.
Definitely put subversion on the people, though, James. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is a total program of subversion to make the people think they're fat, stupid, and useless, and there's no hope. It is like the bit that I've seen is that it's basically the same as they did to Russia. They've just done it another way. They took away. They've given us and debt, and anyway, we've kind of lost our souls this way around. We have as a race, as a people. Generally, I don't mean people here. I mean people out there.
That's right. They've replicated the function of anxiety as it events in the mind because courage acknowledges anxiety, and it's a sneaky trick that anxiety pulls in the mind, and they've extrapolated that out over the macro, which is religion. Okay, and so as my point, as you said, that's exactly the case. They do what they do because of what we do, and I see fit that we should actually change the perception of consciousness by bringing this qualification that it's real. When, you know, it's an incredible thing. I've got this qualification that proves consciousness is real, but actually everyone already knows it's real, but they just don't know it because it's been overwritten with the understanding that anxiety is virtuous and anxiety is courage. And we have all this money, and money is the great imposter of consciousness because money achieves all these things. We can buy things with money. We can create things with money. We can actually manipulate people with money, and all these types of things, consequences, like political consequences of money. And but if people were to know that consciousness is real, it would actually change the whole nature of civilization, because all of our civilization, as you've described, is a giant lie, because it has been, the whole development of civilization has been according to the belief that anxiety is virtuous. And that's the thing of it. And so to change that, this is going to change everything. It's going to change everything. And so, yeah, I there's all these, I have these ideas and visions about what life could be like in a world that's completely governed by the belief that consciousness is virtuous. And then we can actually start being who we are always meant to be. So in a political sense, the human race, because of its belief that anxiety is virtuous, the human race is actually still in the caveman stage. You know, according to who we actually are, that is this consciousness being that has consciousness, we really have not left the cave yet, according to who we could be. And so I promote the idea that there's this great request of the whole world to come out of the caves and start living according to the character of consciousness. And you know what? Then nobody will get left behind. There'd be no homeless. You know why homeless? You know, you'll love this, Tommy. You know why we have homeless? Well, I think we have homeless because these homeless people have been so ambushed by anxiety, you know, getting anxiety attacks, ambushing them from other people for their whole lives. And it could be just the first few days of life that this happened that caused this belief, that caused the outcome. But yeah, the homeless people actually have an aversion to relationships. That's the thing about it. Now, in New Zealand, I formed that perspective in New Zealand, right? It's not like the US, Europe, London, wherever. New Zealand is a very different case of a place than other places. And but I believe that, you know, because there's houses around, there's like 5 NGOs level social service outfits that can help you into a house if you've got no house. There's money for it. There's lots of food. The community donate heaps of food. We've got heaps of food banks, right? Why do they choose to live in the middle of town on the street? It's because they have an aversion to at the consciousness level, they have an aversion to relationships, which means they can't live in a house, because that means you have a relationship with a house. You have a relationship with a car. You have a relationship with a street, you know, and they are relationship averse. And this is a great vote of confidence in consciousness, because they draw the line in the sand. This world is harmful to consciousness, and so that's one of the things I've realised in this path about homeless people. And the rest of society doesn't acknowledge being averse to communication and being relationship averse. You know, my parents were both relationship averse that I grew up with, because they thought anxiety is virtuous, and they were communication averse too. So being communication averse is being relationship averse. And that's why how the public cannot access the media. Only certain people get interviewed by the media. The media are communication averse. So they are telling us what you say when you don't want to say anything, which is what so many people do, which is, as Tommy, you've pointed out, that's a lot of people. You know, the iPod thing.
They've built our own prisons, haven't they, really?
Yeah.
Or this nice apartment, whatever it is, but they've let us build our own prisons.
Well, that's right, but this is the freak accident part of it. Nobody knows this is going on. Nobody has figured this out, that this is actually going on. So actually everyone, I thought the media is into this conspiracy theory to just amp up all the anxieties of society, you know. But actually they're not. They're just individual people that believe anxiety is virtuous, actually doing what they think what everyone wants. And it's true, they are. And so this is the crazy situation. So this is the actual true character of consciousness I'm talking about. How it has played out in this highly populated planet with these sentient beings, the human, how we interact together as a result of this collective belief. Right?
It's not a planet, James.
Well, as you say, but this collective body of human beings and how they function.
You've got to understand about the flat Earth realm as well. When you've got this consciousness thing going on, you have to understand we're not a spinning ball. There's other stuff going on here. I mean, the lie is that bad.
Yeah, cool.
We're not just talking of, oh well, the bit about everything's so bad.
But
it's all lies, the whole thing, not just a little bit of it, not just some of it, all of it.
Yeah. My perspective is though that I appreciate hugely this place is here, whatever it is, and that we are alive, that we can talk to each other, we can express. But this is happening at all. It's a miracle. It's totally miraculous, and this giant thing, and we've got this whatever it is going on. Isn't it cool? And so I
suppose it is really cool linking up from New Zealand to Canada. That bit's really good.
Yeah.
This is like miraculous.
It's so big that, I mean, as soon as you're born and you may take your first blink into this world, the first thing you start hearing is anxiety words.
Yeah.
Right?
You're
born into a pool of anxiety.
Yeah.
Right?
And this
is where it gets back in every word that was created by the Phoenician Canaanites that we understand as English today, and it gets even involved with other stuff, that it's spelling. The first thing they do when they take you to school is teach you how to spell. And this is where the witchcraft aspect of things comes in, because the paranormal world is the supernatural world is more natural than the natural world if you understand things from a different aspect. Confucius even said that signs and symbols are more powerful than words, and they can turn the signs and symbols that we use today as our alphabet into spells and stuff, and it gets creepy. I try and wake people up on the simple stuff in regards to the earth being flat, but it's a stepping stone process, because with me, I mean, I work people into the flat aspect, and then I try and work with consciousness and stuff like this. But I mean, sometimes like I start off talking to people in public about, it's shitty that they recycle the city water, and that I kind of point out the fact that recycling city water means that I'm drinking some guy's feces from the last party he was at, sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? And they start to, whoa, that's interesting to talk about, because I'm looking at my own personal health as well. And then I say, yeah, well, they also put sodium fluoride in the city water, and then I start with the history stuff. Well, they started that in Soviet Russia, and they were trying to round up the slaves to keep the count of the cost of the prisoners of war and to a minimum, and how the Adolf Hitler was using it in his concentration camps to keep the masses kind of dumbed down and stupid, so they wouldn't get all excited and kind of cause a revolution type stuff.
Yeah. There's been a lot of things go on. There's been a lot of things go on.
Frozen. He hadn't finished, I don't think, James. He's just frozen for a moment.
Yep.
And
sorry about that.
that's okay. He's back now.
Are we back again?
Yeah, you're back again.
Okay, but I got all my flat documents in my bag all the time, because I don't drive a car, because I ended up owing about $6,000 worth of fines from a $900 fine 15 years ago, and now it's $6,000. So because of the interest, can you figure that one out? And I haven't even bothered to chase that shit down, because I don't bother with it, right? But I work anyway. But what I do is I carry my flat information with me in my kick bag. So I got like all my, papers and stuff. They're kind of beat up. I got them in here. I got all my maps and the flat stuff, right? Like, every kind of map you want with me, I carry with me. All kinds of crazy stuff. And I try and wake people up to the fact that it's flat. But once it's flat, there's a star chart, but then they
Black,
realize, okay,
once
that's
you
a
know
little part of the
it's
lie.
black.
But then you can't really people don't understand about consciousness. I mean, when they're looking at a cell phone all the time, and you know, you're lucky if you can get them to even give you a light for a smoke, because they can't even hear you because the headphones are too loud. You know what I mean? So it's a real tough battle when you're trying to challenge with consciousness. And I was going to wonder, how your interview went with the school. You said you met the Minister of Education today, and you were going to try and have a chat with that. I mean, that's a good thing to do. But to me, I've had conversations with a lot of people in high profile places and stuff and big government positions. And every time I talk to them about anything serious, it rolls off and like water off a duck's back. They pay their 5-10 minutes worth of lip service, and then they say, fine, I'm on to the next one. And that's how it goes. And it's so big and such an indoctrinated system of, we're on a farm, and you got certain levels that categorize people on the certain levels of this farm. And I would really like to get off the farm. That's what I'm working on right now, because I live in a big city, like I was saying, 7.5 million people, and it's growing. And it's just, people just don't want to get with it. I mean, I'm short of choking people by the throat and saying, look, this is the planes in the air. You see them spraying us? Oh, no, they're not spraying us. Oh, what? Well, I thought sometimes these chemtrail planes would follow me, because I'm walking down the street and I see one coming down from like a couple miles up the road. And next thing you know, it flies over my head, and then it turns around and goes the other way. And I go like, oh, little bastard, man. Or sometimes I get helicopters following me out in the woods when I'm walking my dog and stuff, right? And it's kind of like, are they watching me, or are they watching traffic? And they're black helicopters, and I'm going, I don't know what that.
They're watching you, Tommy.
Well, then I was having a chat with another guy on another channel there, and I had a drone follow me one day, and I was walking my dog, and it was about 300 feet in the air, and it just sat there for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then it was weird, but the guy says, oh, well, sometimes these guys, and I said, there's nobody around. He said, oh, dude could have been a mile away, right? Some of these drones can follow you around and stuff, right? So, but I mean, with regards to talking about consciousness, I mean, sometimes like when you're dealing with people, I can't even get my son to understand. He's starting to get with it. I'm about the flat earth thing, and I'm trying to, because he's 14 now, and he's playing like a lot of Xbox games, and he's living in this virtual reality world, I guess, in his own way, right? And same with my daughter. I mean, these kids she's 28, and these people, it's so difficult, man. And I just say, like, even I try and get it out there, what's going on, because all we are is just paying taxes.
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry, Tommy. It's because before, right, you were talking about, consciousness, and about we're getting told as children all the time, negative things. And I've got this old book, dead old book, ish anyway. But it says here, we get told by the time we're 18, the first 18 years of our lives, this is, I don't know where they've got the study from, but we get told no 148,000 times, right? And if you're a little bit more fortunate, you might have been told no only like 100,000 times or 50,000 times. But I don't know where they get the figures from, but I mean, it's surprising that the first 18 years of your life, you're getting told no 148,000 times, or it's probably a lot more than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe, but it's
that's my first year.
Food for thought, man.
Yeah, well, it's always no.
And they say 75% of what we're thinking is negative. 75% of our thoughts. No, sorry, 77% is negative, counterproductive. I mean, maybe not us in general, but general sheeple. Yeah, most people, I would say, probably. In fact, what am I on about? Yeah, because it's shit, innit? We get into our little lives, we go to our schools, learn our trades that we're going to learn, and we're in the system. You're paying your money, man, and that's it. You're saving up every single week or whatever for the, what is it you're going to buy now? Oh, I need a new pair of shoes. I need a new haircut. I need one of them or one of them, you know. That's all we're doing. We're going to work to get money to buy the shit. It's not going to change, is it? Every day, every week, every year. Same, different day.
I can say something.
Sorry, yeah.
About what Tommy was saying there. But how you go to talk to people, what I've figured out, right? How you go to talk to people. See, while you're trying to tell someone to lessen their anxieties about whatever situation they're in, to bring them down to a happier state, right? Now, the problem is this, is that anxiety exists in all the facets of the experience, right? And so while you're attending to a singular thing, try to mitigate and make it better, you know, anxiety will invariably try and reboot itself from all the other facets of the thinking. And that's why I came to the conclusion that it was actually this underlying belief that anxiety is virtuous that is causing the non-connectivity. And so so that's what I've learned, to be careful and talking to someone like an establishment figure who rely really heavily, like the cops, they rely heavily on the fact that anxiety is virtuous. They have to believe that, because in their instance, they're going into these dangerous situations all the time. So they have a particular perspective of life, and so they're the hardcore. So I just thought I'd say that. So while Tommy was talking to this guy, this authority figure of some kind, he was not only half listening, because he's all listening to all this other stuff going on in his head. Okay, it's the prevailing anxiety dominance over the general way of thinking of the worldview is the problem, man. And but just like that figure you said there, 148,000. You know how they come up with that? I'll tell you how they come up with that. They come up with that because it's the instinctively intuited number, according to the political correctness of anxiety, that people will swallow hook, line, and sinker because it's an anxiety thing. And at the moment, just yesterday, they had this report from the university. Our universities in New Zealand are very infiltrated with these establishment loyalists, right? Really infiltrated, man. And so they had this thing where there's like 90% of chicken has Campylobacter, which is a bacteria that can cause human beings quite ill health. And they're promoting this thing, and and then this chicken produce guy came on the radio to talk about that, and he says, "Oh, actually, only 6,000. There was 30,000 food poisoning cases because of chicken." This guy was saying, right? This report, but actually, it was only 6,000 because most instances of this bacteria exist in other things, right? And so, see how that was an anxiety attack. 30,000, illnesses, and it's a big problem. And 90% of chicken has this thing. They've always known that all chicken has this stuff. If you don't cook chicken properly, you're going to get sick. And so, why are they pretending that this is news, right? It's because this is how anxiety functions. This is how anxiety functions. And when the establishment replicate the function of anxiety, this is the kind of thing they come up with. Okay, it's a reiteration, making out that it's new news, and it's not even new news. It's always been known that if you don't cook chicken properly, you get sick. And so I'm just saying that these data points that they come up with, this is the thing. That's why that is the mechanism they are trying to achieve by making up stories. That's just the fact of it. Because I don't think I was told no 148,000 times by the time I was 18. I think I was told no probably 3 or 4 times, actually, in the whole time, because my parents never talked to me. So
yeah, but when little James went to the sweet shop and said, "Can I have a pack of sweets?" and to your mum or dad or whatever, they said, "No, you've had some today already. Can I have some more cake, Mum?" "No, you've had enough. You'll get bellyache." You know, it'd be things like that, man. You've heard no plenty of times. I'm pretty sure of that. We all have. School. How many times did you heard no at school? You probably heard it 148,000 times in a week, man. I know I did.
Now, my parents were depressed. They never communicated, and we copied them. Hardly any. We just didn't talk, and that's who knows how common that is, right? And so, you know, and so I know that I was not told no that many times at all. And so, yeah, see, this is this frivolous. I call it the bombastic pomposity of anxiety when they announce these great stats and figures, when the education system and the whole Western world is completely overrun with these political ideologists that are actually philosophically underwritten by the political correctness of anxiety, you know, and that's why they have led the West into this position where they've tried to destroy the West culture. You know, they're fucking full on, man. I mean, the sneaky games they pull, they drop these hints into.
I think they've been doing it worse, Alien. I think it feels like things disappeared at the end of the last century, and they're trying to change all the past all the time, like this Mandela effect. They're always changing it, so we can't go back.
Yeah, they've done that. They've done that to New Zealand. I just found out yesterday there's been people living here. There were people living here pre the Taupo eruption, which is reputed to be the loudest noise ever to happen on planet Earth. The Taupo eruption, and it's like we've got these evidence of cooking 7,000 BC, 7,000 years ago. There were people living here.
If that's true as well, though, James. Lied about everything else.
Yeah, well, that's right. And so that they've concealed this. They've concealed the whole of civilization back then, because there was Polynesians, seafarers, there was Chinese. They've found evidence of Chinese art painted in our caves here. There's fucking it was art that was the style of choice 4,500 years ago in China. So the world has a lot of history that they are concealing, and the whole, from the political optics kind of a look to it, they are replicating anxiety, because that's what anxiety does to people. You know, when anxiety happens, you can't think of anything else. There's no past, no future, no left or right at all, and they are recreating this over the whole world, and that's what it means to me at a kind of conceptual level, that they should conceal the history pre-Maori. That's what it is to do that. They're achieving that's their aspiration, is to achieve the aspiration of anxiety, actually. And because I know if they're doing that, they did that to us, they did that to everywhere, man. Everywhere.
They have. They've done it to everybody. Can I just say, James, we've been getting on for nearly 3 hours now. Lev or Astral or Tommy, is there anything you want to add as we wind down? Because it's a deep subject with James.
Yeah,
it's a deep subject, very deep. But James, can I just say as well, this isn't just self. This is a book called "What to Say When You Talk to Yourself." Right? It's a decent book, quite a good book. But the 148,000 times, it's also ourselves. We say ourselves. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't do that, or whatever, you know.
Yeah, well,
I mean, and I'll never stop smoking. I'm always overweight. I'll never get up for work on time. Blah, blah. You know, we say so many negative thoughts, right? Not that we're getting told them. We think them ourselves as well. You know,
I see
everything. I mean, yeah. And it's the subconsciousness that we need to crack. You know.
Yeah. We need to engage with it. Yeah.
Yeah, but exactly. Because when you say to yourself, shit, I can't do this, or I'm never going to pay this bill, or whatever, you know, it's that negative self-talk that we need to get rid of. Accept it, you know, make sure you're aware of it and say, oh, yeah, I can't say that. I can't pay my bill. I'm going to say, I will pay my bill, or be aware of it, if you know what I mean. Because it's that's Yeah, it's that that's harming us in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a fabulous point. I've got there's this part of my book, the second half, which is going to be about consciousness. First half revelation, second half consciousness, and in the consciousness half, there's going to be something said about how is doubt initiated. Okay, because this is about the character of consciousness, and how is doubt initiated? Unless I think that's of value to actually, because that's an absolutely well spotted thing. It's not the parents at all. It's yourself. It's your. Nah, well, that's great, man. Yeah.
It was, but keep blaming everyone else, then, and we never take responsibility for us. Keep blaming everyone else. It keeps us in the state we were and not here and now. And that's what I think Flat Earth is to a lot of people, is about being here and now, not being there, not being in the future, being here now. But they've tried to destroy the future. The past looks pretty depressing. And now they're breaking families up. It's going on all the time. But that's what Flat Earth, I think, is for a lot of people. We are here and we are now. Even in different time zones. Look at your time zone, but we're still here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to be objective, we'd have to be here and now, Karen. That's. If you're not here and now, there's no objectivity. Absolutely.
Yeah, but a lot of people aren't here and now, are they?
No.
Unfortunately, one of the best things everybody can do is just turn that telly off.
Yep.
I mean, I sort of miss it in a way, like I got so into the soap operas, but like I feel better for not watching it all. All it is doom and gloom, lie, cheating. No one's ever happy. The news isn't happy. The adverts aren't happy. You get the odd program, I suppose documentary or something on animals, which is more interesting, or the odd film I haven't seen, but I don't even like them anymore.
It's probably because you're not in control of the TV and you're continually surprised because you don't know what's going to happen next. And this is actually this means consciousness.
It's all set up in a bunch of lies. It's just an arena. Like I hate saying this really because it's not how I felt years ago. But even our politicians and presidents, it's all Dallas and Dynasty.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Did you know when you're speaking about consciousness, every album that you hear on your music and every movie that you watch goes to a studio or through a ceremony, through witchcraft, and they put spells on every movie and every song that they have, on every album and CD that is ever made, so that it will follow the music wherever it goes, so that whenever a person opens this package in their home, the demons that are following that music enter the home. Did you know that? Did you know that?
Yeah.
Well, if we didn't know it, we do know it now. But I mean, it's all.
When you're looking at this world we live in, don't think for 1 minute it is what it is. I mean, to me, the Earth to me is a realm. It's not flat when I got to walk up and down hills when I'm out hiking around, but I know the water's definitely all flat. You know what I'm saying? And I've been to the top of the mountain sometimes, and it doesn't look too flat to me, other than the fact that I got to walk back down, right? But I know the water's all flat, right? But then the horizon's always flat. So I mean, the thing is, it's a realm because it's not very flat to me. When I trip on the curb and bust my lip, it wasn't flat there, right? So I mean, it's a realm, and it's a strange realm because, like I was saying, if you follow the music industry at all, because I've been involved with the music industry for a very long time when I was young and everything, and I understand that these guys do everything ass backwards and upside down too. It gets involved with Aleister Crowley, Aleister Crowley was basically, from what I'm picking up, Barbara Bush's father. And then George Bush Sr., he marries Barbara Bush. I can't remember her name, but she came out of a woman who was in France during some satanic worshiping episodes in France, and then they had a child come out of that particular sex worshipped act, or whatever, what do they call them? Sex rituals. And out came Barbara Bush. And then so George Bush Jr., boy George, his grandfather's Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley basically trained Jack Parsons and his JPL, which is Jet Propulsion Laboratories, and Jet Propulsion Laboratories linked up with our Werner von Braun and the Nazi boys when they won World War II, and built NASA. And with the aid of the Roman Catholic Church, we're all living on a ball, and it's a cartoon. And ODD's talking about that. I love ODD, and I follow him well. And so when you're with the consciousness of things, it's a huge thing, and you could probably write 10 books with it, and you might be firing bullets into a dead fire. It's a really hard thing to get around, and I try just to keep it simple, and I do the KISS method sometimes, keep it simple, stupid, right? And I kind of get it. Sometimes you get a foot in with sugar than you do with a bag of shits, per se. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's a tough bullet when you're dealing with the consciousness, and in on a world level. The only way that we can communicate basically is through the internet, so that we can get these communication networks going like we're doing tonight, and get the word out. But a lot of the times we got battles with that because YouTube will slap you, and then even Facebook. I mean, I was in Facebook jail there, and I was talking about just the fake Jews that are in Israel right now, because they're actually Sabbatean Franxists that are there, and they have nothing to do with the Jewish faith or anything like that. The real Jews are actually the black people that are in Ethiopia, and the ones that basically escaped to the slave coast on the west of Africa. Those are the real Jews. And then the native North Americans, the 12 tribes of Dan, is not, the ones that are in Israel now are not exactly what you would call, they took on the faith of the Torah in the 17th century. And then they developed that Star of David, which David never even had a star. And that is actually the Star of Remphan. And if you follow this kind of stuff, it gets back into Moloch and child sacrifices. And these people kill children, and they never stop doing it. And the consciousness that should be out there is a lot bigger than, just trying to change the wording of a few things here. I mean, look, right now we've got that Pope Frankie. He's down there. He wants to change the friggin' Bible. He says, look, I'm the vicar of Christ. I'm changing the name of the game. He already changed the Lord's Prayer. And Zen, Jay, he uses a lot of his, his language stuff. He even says in the Lord's Prayer, thou art, thou art. You can't be changing the stuff in the books. And this is how many times has it happened before? And like I was saying earlier, the consciousness of society has got to be changed, and we got to get some sort of a format that we can actually speak. I mean, I spoke in public. I spoke to 11 high schools in 2 years about my life, drugs, addiction, 800 kids at a time in person, right? And I mean, that's the only way I can get messages out there is face to face. I did a couple little spits on TV for a couple of seconds, and that was just like a shit show, right? Because you basically used me as a prop down at my my health clinic when the Minister of Health was going down there for a visit. They used me as one of their star patients I'm going back probably 12 years ago, right? But I haven't been to the doctor in about 6 years, and the only time I've gone in the last 6 years is I had to go get a form filled out one time. And other than that, because I know doctors don't sell good health. Doctors sell death. And the only way to get health is through what the Bible says. The Bible says you want good health, it's in the herbs. It's not in a pill. There ain't no quick fix to nothing out there, girlfriend. You're taking that pill, it ain't happening, right? You won't get healthy taking no pills. I went through years of addictions with pills. I was on 300 milliliters of methadone a day. I know about heroin. I know about cocaine. I know about a lot of it. I'm sure there's some people listening out there. They've seen a lot of shit shows too. And the thing is, when you deal with consciousness, you got to go right back to the grassroots. The guys who are writing our books are the guys who are keeping us under these spells. And the spells come from when the first day you're born, they start teaching you how to speak and yada, yada, yada. Actually, the first thing you start doing is listening to them speak. And, you know, monkey see, monkey do. This is where it gets into like, it's so big, it's a realm. And the only way to figure out, you got to get out of here because it's a prison. And I think it's a reincarnation situation or something because I get a lot of weird flashbacks in my day. And even when I'm walking, you know, deja vu, sometimes you get these deja vu times 10, right? And it's just, my life has been kind of crazy. And so consciousness, you got to be happy and don't let anything shit ruin your day because there's always tomorrow. And don't worry about yesterday because you can't change the past. And the tomorrow, well, just keep it good today. And if you have a good today every day, then tomorrow's taken care of too. So, because if we're worried about tomorrow and you're worried about yesterday, you're shitting on today, and then you don't want to have bad consciousness in today. The thing is, we all got to learn and try to help each other, and we have to learn how to help each other. Because like I was saying earlier, I'm a good a resident in my building here. I'm a good tenant. I clean my hall. I'm responsible. I follow behind that bastard of a dog I got there because sometimes he comes in, he's dirtier than a pig, right? And I keep the floors clean and everything. Yet the girl has been living enough to cross the hall for 18 months. She wouldn't even hold the door for me the other day when me and him were coming in. And I'm going, what the fuck, man? Pardon me, man, for swearing on the show. But I mean, and she like basically seen me and him coming and she scootered. I said, what the, anyway, and this is where the consciousness of society, and like you said, you're at the education minister today and rolled you off like water off a duck's back, gave you the happy smile, thanks for showing up sort of thing.
No, that's whatever. Well, I had
same show, different tote. That's where I go with it. How are we doing with it? I don't know. Is he going to say he's going to change the agenda in the school?
I have completely rewritten her understanding of education. The problem, you know, they've been maligned as the problem being not good enough teachers. And I have now proved that she is a wonderful, perfectly amazing teacher. It is the receptiveness of people to education that is the problem.
Okay? The problem is you're going to have to get it past the Jesuit order that's running the bus.
Forget them, man. Forget them. They don't exist to me because they are the only thing they've got is the human race believes that anxiety is virtuous. Change that, then they have no power. They have no relevance. Okay, they are obsolete, and that's what I'm going to do. And anyone who sees the 8 laws of anxiety, the revelation of the 8 laws, will immediately be able to figuratively hold anxiety in the hand and look at it, and then they will find it has no control over what you say.
James, don't you? It's a bit like you've got to heal yourself.
This is right. And so, like Tommy was going on about all these problems and the problematic nature of society here, you've got to look past that because that isn't your experience. Your experience, Tommy, is you've been quite joyous because you want to develop beyond this, which means you're actually, this is a big vote of confidence and consciousness. No. You're acknowledging consciousness. And so just, you have to look past.
My consciousness is reality. I see what's going on around me. And these people are chewing bubble gum, getting all drunk and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I live in a really crazy world here. I live in Babylon North. Okay. this world I live in is 7.5 million people. Every Friday, they're looking to get stoned and drunk. They can't, you know, it's like they can't wait for the weekends, right? You know, and this is like, you got to look at this place like a farm, my friend. You got Brave New World. You ever read this book? Read this book by Aldous Huxley. Okay.
Yeah,
There's also
anxiety is virtuous.
Well, virtuous doesn't get me through to the paying of everything when everybody out there is so virtuous with it. You know how are you going to change that? You said you were at the minister's office today.
Monday.
The minister can only do so much for such amount of time. And if they really want to make any serious policy changes, which you're trying to implement, there's no damn way they're going to let that get out of the bag, my friend.
Okay, so what my game is
you gotta look who's driving the bus.
You know what? Trying to
we need to build our own communities again. I'm sorry, it might seem a bit basic, but we need to build our own communities. People4people.life. Rich, Mr. Thrive and Survive, is making a new platform that maybe you'll find people in your own area and help each other. That's also, you've got to be like that, James. You've got to include all that. We've got to be able to help each other grow as communities. We need to build communities back up somehow. So we've got to try.
We need to improve communication, right?
Exactly. But soon we won't be able to communicate because they're going to have their 5G Skynet locked everybody down. You understand what that's going on?
Hey, you know what? To consciousness realm, they could do that all day, every day, and it don't make any difference.
Consciousness is one thing, my friend, but I mean, you want to get everybody on the same page. These guys will soon be able to control people's thoughts.
They're going to fry us with that 5G. It's serious shit, isn't it?
Everybody all loaded with fucking chemtrail. I blow my nose. I let it dry under a lamp. I can see the aluminum flakes in my mucus from my nose.
Yeah.
You know, I see the chemtrail planes like spray me like ants in a cabbage patch every day, right? You know, that's consciousness to me. That's a reality thing. Then I see my police cars. They look like they can basically X-ray me from 20 feet away.
Yeah.
Right. Like these police that have come around here today, they're not the happy guys that wore the cap on their head and said, "Hey, good day, friend. How's it going?" And they chatted with the mailman. These guys walk around like they're fucking Nazi fucking outfits.
You know, you have a deep respect for everybody, Tommy.
I said to my minister, when she was trying to go for election, she was standing in front of the pharmacy. I said, "Hey, it's looking a little fascist around here, don't you think?" And she laughed at me with a big smile.
Okay, here's the thing, right? She's doing what she's doing because she believes anxiety is virtuous. But you are challenging her in a way which gives a vote of confidence to what is causing them to do what they're doing. You're giving a vote of confidence and empowering the problem.
Wait for me and putting confidence in my ass.
But it's about the political optics. Okay?
Yeah, you understand that the Nazis did not lose World War II. Do you know that Brown Brothers Harriman in England was financing the operations of Adolf Hitler? Right? Through Prescott Bush, through his Standard Bank of America? Right? These operations never ceased. I wouldn't be surprised if these people end up rounding all us fucking the guys who are awake and awake in a big way up, right? And throw us in the fucking pond. Right? Because there ain't too many of us. Not the real awake ones.
Hey, you forget that the world is
we're millions, remember? We're millions.
Yeah, but you know what? They got fucking all the bombs and guns, and they could lock up individuals. Look, there's so millions. Where's the millions?
So you're challenging anxiety.
I walk out my door, I don't see one.
No, you're true. Yeah, I know.
Challenging anxiety. You know what? Their group is a tiny fraction of a % of the population of the world. Okay? If the Trump election win proves one thing, it proves that the silent majority are massively more powerful than all of the militaries put together. We are massively more powerful than them because they have to stay concealed. Their function has to stay concealed for them to have any power. Okay? That is what they do. They replicate anxiety. That's a replication of the function of anxiety. And the silent majority can just if we had the collective will, just stomp them out, piece of cake. If we stop believing that anxiety is virtuous, they have no control over us anymore. Okay? And I promise you, what I'm doing in New Zealand with my political party, the way I'm going about this, right, this can be done in any country, right? Because when I go to the Ministry of Education, to the lady, and I say what I've said to her, this isn't about changing the education system. This is about realizing the problem isn't with the education system, it's with the people, the kids.
James,
you also got the education system, because that's where my damn kids go to school to learn.
Yeah, but you've also got. Sorry, I was also going to say the education system is
going there to learn.
Darren, yes.
I'm going to say the education system does need fucking changing.
It's a long-term change. What he's talking about, you know, the people want something to happen quite soon, or whatever it is. We're all looking for a difference. The whole thing's changed. But what you're talking about could take years. It's about restructuring the whole thing.
How about getting in a boat and going down to Antarctica and seeing what's really going down there? Because nobody can go back past the 60th parallel.
What I'm doing is the quickest way to attend to that, believe it or not. Because if you improve, you know what? Who's better at learning stuff than young kids? They are just magnets to learn stuff, right? It's not, you know what? There's something stopping the value of education in these kids. There's something stopping them from wanting to learn. We've got all knowledge and all history going on, right, in the internet and in teaching and the education system. The problem is that they don't want to learn because there's something that is put before that, which is the belief that anxiety is virtuous. It's the political aspiration and the political landscape that creates that they are much more interested in. That's what I want to change. As soon as that changes, as soon as kids come to learn about this, it all changes. You know, it all changes. And yes, Antarctica, I would love to go down there very seriously, because New Zealand was told for a long time we have a big hole in the ozone layer, when actually they're firing fucking radio waves over us. I've got revenge plans, man. Now, to stop them doing what they're doing, I can achieve that. Okay? It's just to stop this belief that anxiety is virtuous, which gives them the compulsion to control, which is what anxiety does. It also heavily promotes self-interest anxiety, right? And so the path
listen, James, can I say something? Listen, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but we've got a whole body called NASA telling us that we go to space, and everybody believes, not everybody, but most people believe it. This isn't just something that is going to happen tomorrow because you say it's going to happen. We all can see they're lying. It's CGI. It's fake.
Well, look,
they're still going.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care what they're doing. I want to promote a new way for the people.
Well, we do, because unless these things are changed, because they're spending supposedly millions of dollars every day lying to us.
Yeah.
Making the fake reality you're talking about.
No, I'm wanting this. I'm wanting to forgive the past to have a future.
Yeah, but I don't deal with any politicians, man.
That's all. I want to forgive the past to have a future, and I want that for other people. And for that to happen, we've got to stop with all like this, you know, thinking that problems are important. We know what the problems are. In comparison to the problem, the solution is vastly more important than the problem. And I promise you, according to the beliefs of people at the quantum level, if we change a few elements there, all of this other carry on will stop. All of it will stop. They won't feel they need to lie anymore, like NASA, like religion. They won't feel
your best bet then, James, is to actually publish your book then, isn't it? Get it out in the public. That's your best bet to do.
And money,
publish the book.
The lust for money and greed and more, they will not give up, right? Yeah. They've been indoctrinated since they opened their eyes, right? How do you plan on changing this whole situation You have to start right with the education system, and in fact, from the birthing unit, when the children are born, they're not even supposed to be born with that bright light shining on their face.
Okay, so to stop them valuing what they value to do what they do, the only way to stop them valuing that is to have them value something else more. And I assure everyone that proving consciousness is real is enough to do that.
Proving consciousness is real.
Yep. That is enough to do that, to override.
I don't listen, James. I can't understand that you can say that by understanding about anxiety, right? That it can stop NASA. Basically, that's what you just said. I think, James, education, like Tommy just said then, because we're going wrong. We're teaching children wrong things that don't make any sense at all, right?
Right.
You know, and the scientism and all that shit.
The anxiety comes from the way the whole wording of our languages are produced.
This is true.
And they were produced a long time ago by these same elite families that have got the key to this knowledge, right? And this is where you got to pull through all the bullshit, because I got books here, I read everything, I'm like a fucking freak, right? I go to the library, I photocopy things I can't get done here, and the anxiety comes from the way the wording even is structured, right? You know, like they got everybody taking Xanax, right? And Xanax is spelt the same way, front or back. That plays on the subconscious mind of people, right? I'm taking Xanax.
Yes.
You want to talk about confused? Because I'm going this way and I'm going that way, even with the pill they're taking. It's so crazy because they got the whole. This is so big. The whole structure's got to be. I posted a couple of times, and there are two babies talking. Now they haven't really been involved in life so much, but they're not speaking English. They're speaking what would be pre-Paleo Hebrew, right? Which gets back into our actual languages back in the day, because I believe when God, so they say in the Bible, right? Scattered everybody around and give them like all 72 different languages or something. He confused them with their languages anyway, right? I think what he actually did is he took away for us ability to communicate with our pineal glands from one to another. And the fact about relationships, stuff like this, has been destroyed, because if I was going to be late for supper, I didn't have to call my wife on a cell phone. I just have to think a thought and she would actually understand it. You know what I'm saying? This is how consciousness has been invaded in such a fucking evil way. Pardon me for swearing, Karen. Right? But
you're right.
This is where you got to understand when it comes to the food, GMO, the water poison, the food poison, they inject you with chemicals as soon as you come out of your mama's butt, right? And then they shine that bright light in your face. They take your footprint, and next thing you know, you're on the citizenship. And even when you own
you've got a death certificate.
Yeah, and then even when you own property, and I pay $10 million for the home up the road there, and I got the yacht, which I got to register, which means I got to give it to the queen because she owns everything. And then I got the right to use it. And the $10 million home that I paid cash for. And damn, I'm so good. In fact, I didn't have a mortgage because you keep everything that's dead in a mort, right? Mortuary, right? So the thing is, but if I miss my taxes for 3 months consecutive, and they say, hey, Tommy, I need some cash out of you. And I'm saying, well, fuck, man. My old lady, she had a drug problem and I had to help her out. I haven't got it right now. Can you wait 6 months? No. We're taking your home. Thanks very much. Goodbye. You're homeless. Holy shit, how'd that happen? I thought I owned that house. Yeah, part of the game. They want to talk about consciousness. This is the stuff you got to battle through. And then you find out things like me and Astral, God love him, top left buddy, Hillary Clinton and Aberdeen, cutting the face off of a teenage girl.
This everything you've got anxieties about.
Anxiety? No, this is reality, not anxiety. I want to see you change all the shit I was talking about right now. Come on, James. This is talking about writing a book, and we're talking about reality here. I mean, this is the stuff we got to deal with.
Anxiety is virtuous, isn't it?
I pass the hat.
No,
It's great that James.
No, that.
Just.
Sorry.
I just think it's a long term. James is a long term one. Carry on, Astral.
James is a long time one.
What I mean is,
do you know how long
I'm not saying
they've been working on this whole thing?
Yeah, so it would be a long time to change the consciousness.
To actually
with a lot of people
wording that actually puts consciousness in anxiety mode 101, right? I mean, these people know what they're doing, and this is what are they people? To come up with that, there must be some kind of a crazy computer program too, because this stuff is so precise. You know, you want to talk about flat Earth? You research Isaac Newton, his theory of gravity, and he says, look, do not go with my 700 page of my theory of gravity. He says it doesn't make any sense. And when it's all said and done, right, it starts with the word if to start off with. He was Jesuit trained. It goes all the way, but all roads lead to the Vatican via Rome. And then it gets back to the 3 city-states, and they got everybody living in a present mentality. And the wheels are closing in on everybody because they got 5G, and they got everybody tagged by their cell phones. And now they got put microchips in your birth certificates and your citizenship IDs, and they know your every movement. And you want to talk about anxiety? Well, you got to change everything. How do you change 1,000 years of this programming? Even in the Bible, Jesus says, "I didn't come down here to change the place. I only came down here to show you a way out."
It's overrun with evil. That's what it is.
If I can say, how would it suit the Jesuits that I have produced this qualification of the 8 laws of anxiety, the exact mechanism of how they are functioning, okay, the whole basis of reality that they can do what they do, okay, okay, and so if the people all know, you know, what this mechanism is and how it does what it does, then they can actually have a bond with consciousness without anxiety present at all. And the whole value system that the Jesuits are basing their energies on disappears, well, all their power disappears too. And they can't stop it, because as soon as they become aware of the 8 laws, they then can perceive it from, you know, consciousness, because they can figuratively hold in the hand.
They'll get it from consciousness, all right? They'll go and cut the face off of another child, right? And that's where they'll take the child's consciousness by forms of witchcraft.
No.
What do you mean, no? Come on now, my friend. You think look, England is loaded with witches.
Look,
so is New Zealand and Australia. There's a lot of these people disappear everywhere, this is crazy places where we live, right?
Yeah, all around.
When I talk about taking
everywhere.
Consciousness, they take people's lives, and that I know about that Clinton thing, Astral, right? I've been following that fucking thing for a long time, right? She was boasting about being one of the witches of Belgium. There's that Sisters of Belgium, right? Do you know what that Sisters of Darkness Castle in Belgium?
No.
You know that place, Astral?
I know that if I wrote down that they grind up these people, these kids, when they're finished with them, and put them in hamburger patties and sell them to everyone at McDonald's, you'd probably believe it hook, line, and sinker. And I just made
No, I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about the Jewish human blood sacrifice stuff.
But everything is that
all kinds of stuff going on.
Everything is an iteration and iteration of a human being from within the jurisdiction.
I don't believe everything I read on the internet, my friend. I got some documents and stuff around here from some people I know.
I've seen some stuff today as well, and last night, but nothing that's in that sense illegal, right? But
it's not.
I know if it was.
She's been accused of that. That's the first time.
No, I know. It's like, they're getting away with it, aren't they? But for how long?
Why? Because why? Because collectively the world fucking acknowledges anxiety because we believe in courage.
Oh, man.
They're not getting away with it, are they? Because we've woken up.
Yeah. We're woken up. Yeah, good. And that's a good thing as well. And the more people that are aware of this, then the better it will be. And the more people that are screaming and shouting about it, the better it will be. Because they will get fucking jailed then, or they'll get hung. They deserve to die, man. They deserve death penalty, I tell you.
Yeah, that's
they're
right.
not even in jail yet, right?
No.
How come they're not even? You know what? Come on, Astral.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are these people not even spending 5 minutes in jail? Not even one of them spent 5 minutes behind bars. Not
yeah, well,
one.
Epstein did, didn't he? But he didn't do 20 years or whatever. What did he do? Epstein.
Did you see him in jail?
Did he go to jail? He didn't go for long anyway.
If he did, that's the first I heard.
What? No, not now. I mean,
they bombed his little island, apparently.
A long time ago.
No, apparently they burned Epstein Island down, from what I got, right?
Or not.
Yeah, but see, that maybe, you know, that's just a bunch of smoke and mirror stuff too. They probably just wanted to change the fucking scenery on the island. So
yeah, but I heard that it might have been another island where that fire was. I'm not sure. But
yeah, well, see, this is where
who knows?
You can't believe half the shit you see on the internet anyway.
No, I know it's getting too technical and too tricky.
Well, even the flat Earth stuff. I mean, I try and keep it simple. I mean, I've done my own experiments with the flat Earth thing, right? You know, it doesn't take much for 1 and 1 equal 2, right? Unless you really want to fight it, right? I mean, I go down the waterfront here at night sometimes with the dog in the winter time, right? And it's like, it's dark as dark can be. And it looks really nice because I can see New York on the other side. That's 32 miles away, right? And I can see like the lights of like people's cottages and houses on the shore. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then they say, oh, it's a ball. It's going through space. And then NASA in Hebrew means deception and deceiver, right? Satan NASA is the real fucking demon. Pardon me, Cameron. Right? You know, the whole thing, the Hebrew language is involved with everything. There's 666 everywhere. I live on a ball, 23.4 degree angle on its axis. The remainder of that, 666. Oh, my shit. You know, my DNA code. Carbon unit.
I think the worst thing is finding out that actually it's like there's always like conspiracy or hints, but to actually know that it is really happening makes it even worse. And if you're sensitive and awake, then it's just even worse. And
I know.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
I know the government's run by a bunch of people.
I do agree with a lot of things that James says, right? I really do. Well, I just think that
anybody that wants to play with children, don't even bring them near me because they won't live for very long. I'll tell you right now, right? I don't even get with that kind of shit whatsoever. My son is still innocent. He's 14 years old, and I had issues breaking him into the flat Earth thing because I was afraid I was going to ruin his little "you're only young once" thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't want him to grow up too quick because as soon as he grows up, he's going to have to start fucking getting a job and paying taxes. And I was kind of hoping he was going to relax a little while, but he's getting to 14 now. He's starting to see what I'm posting. He's asking me questions and I'm trying to fill him in slow and sure. And he's getting it, but he's still fighting it. But so, I mean, it's like everything. You got to like milk and honey it, right? You know, it's just like, holy shit. And then everything's a damn lie, you know, and Russian vids. I've been following him for years, right? I don't even know how long I've been following him, but there's a bunch of them. Like another good person I followed along back in the day was Freeman Fry, right? And he does a lot of like the Freemason stuff, right? And this is where, I mean, you got to look at everything. You want to change consciousness. I'm sure everybody's pretty much aware of the consciousness right now, because right now consciousness has probably got them by the short and curly saying, give me some more cash. Right? Because these guys are all about money. And us, people who had to pay taxes, are in a different category than the people who don't have to pay taxes. And they treat us different. Right? And it's strange, this place that we have to live on. And you have to spend, your entire life here. And I don't think we're supposed to die before 150 years old either. Right? I think they're a free energy device. If you treat your body properly, you can do pretty good. I've broken my legs. I've broken bones. I've been through comas. I've had to learn how to walk 5 times since I was born. right? I went through addictions, and I still battle with addictions, but I don't battle with it at all because I have no anxiety, right? And nothing bothers me unless I invite it in. And like I said, anxiety is pretty much a self-inflicted wound. If I have no money to pay that bill, damn, that bill has got anxiety, not me. And that's just all I can do with it. I got children. I worry about my daughter, making sure the kids got food and diapers and this, that, and the other thing. And I got my son. I mean, I do with very little at all. And just as me and my dog. And I should keep it simple. And anxiety, it's got to start with the schools, because it's actually taught in your wording, right? The way they've got the actual alphabets and everything structured, and the life you got living in, they're just treating you to be a rat in the wheel. And, you know, the better you learn how to repeat their bullshit, the bigger, the brighter the star is they stick on your forehead. And they stick it right on your pineal gland because they don't want you to think outside the fucking box. So they clock you off right off the get-go. Up to you. I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Astral, Lev, Patricia.
I could add some stuff. You know, these people.
I'm just thinking about. I might have to say goodnight soon. It's 1:20 here for me. You know, I mean,
I think we're going to wind down, right? And we've been going a bit longer. But if James is there, maybe James have the last word. It is a consciousness night.
Yeah, cool, man.
James, are you there? James. James. Or maybe he's had to answer the phone. It's been a really, really interesting talk, because I do agree with nearly everything James says. The thing is that I just don't know what it takes, because we know they're lying to us. We know all these things. It is changing, but it isn't changing fast enough, is it? And even like, what do we do if it is changed? We need to probably talk more, and, you know, things will take probably a bit longer than we think they will, because they just will, because we need to, you know, we don't want bedlam, do we? Imagine how many people waking up tomorrow and finding out we're flat and they never thought anything about it before. It's going to cause utter confusion. I mean, it's pretty horrible what we've all learned, isn't it? It's horrible. It's not just fear, is it? It's horrible. But anyway, it's been a really great chat. Someone just dropped off then. I think it was Lev, I'm not sure. But James, he's amazing. He's a really, really clever guy, and much appreciation. I don't know where he's gone right now. Tommy, thank you so much. Amazing. I think Astral wants to talk to you a little bit on the private hangout, well, the after hangout. Patricia, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody in the chat room. And
yeah, say hello to the. Sorry, Karen, to interrupt you there. I just want to say hello to the chat room. I've not been able to chat to anyone tonight because my phone, I've dropped it too many times. It's all smashed. No, I've got anxiety. No, I just want to say hello to people in the chat, and peace. Be good. And thank you, Karen, and James, and Tommy, Patricia, Lev. Who else has been on?
James, Tommy, Lev, you, me, Patricia. Anyway, we will be back soon. So everybody take care. Much love and flat earth hugs from us. See everybody soon.
Love you all.